that was the last map, wasn't it? That was the decider of the final as well. Oh, this is just storyline after storyline.
I feel like this tournament for FaZe is all about getting over that hurdle,
It is.
dealing with
It
their
is.
demons, but none of that applies right now.
No.
None of that apply. Even if they lost to Shopify today, it doesn't really change much. For FaZe, it's all about the latter stages of this tournament. For Shopify, it's probably about, can you build that form throughout the tournament so that you can then not only get to FaZe 3, get to that arena stage, but then also be in a position where you are playing well, performing well. Because quite frankly, when it came to Montreal for Sonics, their run through phase 2 wasn't clean. It wasn't clinical. They kind of limped over the line, Emmy. They got to SI by getting into phase 3 at Montreal. From there, yeah, they limped completely out as they got decimated by FaZe. And here we are once again with these two teams. Clubhouse first up. Of course, the bans come through. Really no big surprises when it comes to the bans.
No, to play against the hard breach game here, the Maverick, he sort of sets himself up as a very specific operator. These are, in a regard, at least the first two maps, classic Siege, right? You have the most classic Siege map in a lot of people's books, Clubhouse, which sets itself around. Everybody knows it. Everybody has the objective play down. It's usually the first map a lot of teams learn as well by their own admission. Labs has a lot of energy from places like Club. It was often sort of cited as being a great step in replace of, say, Oregon in the meta for those classic Siege-based maps. Things go a little bit wider in Bank, but maybe we will get there, maybe we won't. We start, though, with that little curious statistic here about Shopify Rebellion, about the fact that they're sort of getting Canadian. He is a man who plays the objective. And you might be like, hey, Fluke, everybody plays the objective. He is a man who drives the objective on teams. I think every team he's played on at a major, they have usually been the top objective-focused team. They were at Montreal as well. I think they were 20% above the average.
Really?
Yeah, they had a plant rate above, I think it was about 42%. Someone else was on 36%. I can't remember who it was. And then from then on, it was like 23, 22, 22, 21, 21. That is the game that they love to lock down.
Well, it's a good feel out for both of these two teams as well, where you get the opportunity to play against another solid team. You're not just getting like a feeder APAC team, for example, or one of the lower ranked teams at the tournament. This is just like a really good sparring match between two top teams. FaZe being, of course, probably one of three teams I look at as being a really good chance at getting the hammer and winning the Six Invitational. That's the kind of category that they find themselves in.
I think at this point as well, you don't want to sort of harp onto it, but you use it as an example of the brilliance of FaZe. A lot of people would say that was their final to win last year. It could have been. It was maybe the best series of Siege ever played, ever. And this could, in some regards, be them defending a title. They're still that level of team, though. They've technically, I think, had better international results this year than they did the year that they got to the final, had that huge performance. They're in, statistically, I think, a better shape than they were that time around. So, who knows? The sky's the limit.
Well, a pretty steady and slow Clubhouse to begin. No surprises. Basement for Shopify, and they will very much play all 5 players in basement. So just waiting and anticipating the push from FaZe, who are just getting the checklist done, opening up hatches. They've got kitchen control. A little bit of vision there with the drone. Handy now on the blitz, one to sort of watch as to where he's going to make his way. Can go down main stairs. Could go for a dirt push, and at the moment, maybe looking for a moto drop. They've got the options, and that's where FaZe are really, really solid. They find avenues throughout rounds to create many different entry positions. That's exactly why we're seeing Vidiking just go and open up dirt. So you've got dirt, you've got a kitchen drop, you've got moto, you've got main stairs, you've got many ways in which you can attack this site. The good news for Shopify, still 3 Nitro Cells. They haven't used any of them so far. 3 Gas Babes, Zoto Canisters. So the delay is certainly there. The drop, though, comes through from Handies. They get moto control with 40 seconds remaining. Deals with the barbed wire. And the plan to go down inside of Arsenal now as well. Souls trying to get that down on the ground. There is one of those Nitro Cells from Ambi in a second as well. Followed up from Canadian. And that stall-out defense from Shopify will pay dividends. FaZe wanted to get moving at around that 40-second mark. Tried to force the action, but hadn't cleared out the site. Had found no kills and still have not. And Handy on the blitz is not going to be able to accomplish much from here. You should imagine from here, Shopify will get on the board.
Yeah, I mean, 10 seconds, both of them on half health. They do get a nice take onto the first, but it's pretty much instantly traded, and a couple of shots that may as well not exist. Good opening there on the side of Shopify Rebellion. They lock it down. They do everything they need to do. They don't overextend, and, well, they let FaZe play into them.
I mean, you're going to be playing that bunker defense off of your utility, nitro cells, gas babes, soda canisters, all the barbed wire that you've placed down. The idea, it's somewhat similar to what our previous matchup was like with PSG Talent. They were better when they were trying to play those delay operators. They were trying to just waste as much time. FaZe, though, on the good news for them is they obviously are realizing this. They go at 40 seconds rather than 20 seconds. Gives themselves a bit more breathing room, a bit more space, a bit more time. They just couldn't find any picks, couldn't find any kills. And the util usage was absolutely amazing from Shopify too, with the nitro cells. Saw one come out from Canadian, a couple of good kills early on, and suddenly you don't even really get FaZe any kind of opportunity in the round because you find 2-3 picks immediately. And at that point on defense, especially Clubhouse Basement, you're just not going to be capable of throwing the round from there. We head up towards Gym Bedroom now for the second round. And this is where FaZe will get a bit more breathing room around the map and obviously look to open up. Clubhouse is very default. These guys know what they're doing. And you're going to see the set play every time. So when it comes down to a default-based map like Clubhouse, it's all about the fine margins. Don't put the foot in the wrong spot. Don't peek where you shouldn't peek. Don't stand in this position if there's, threats. So that's where Shopify on the defense have to be still very much perfect, because if you make a mistake, FaZe will punish it, but also vice versa.
Now, will they look the same sort of drive and opportunity here, or, you said, take things a little bit more back to basics, develop across the breach and put pressure on, starting on CC, make the openings and the rotations a bit more cautious and uncomfortable for Shopify. They have the mirror window to try and play potentially a bit of C4 danger out the front of it, but you can also, if you're very talented, get catches with an impact. They wanted to pop it open themselves. It is, an awkward approach now for the side. It's not impenetrable, but this is the game that you play on Clubhouse. When you remove the Kaid, when you remove the Maverick, you have to get a bit creative on how you can both repel and approach those hard walls. Here's the pressure onto CC I talked about, the stray bullet. On any other gun that has more than what feels like 5 shots in it, could have done some damage.
Well, I mean, this is a pretty standard hold from Shopify where you have the extension towards cash side, but because you've got that presence and pressure on the jacuzzi wall, they're actually doubling really down here on CCTV breach. So you've got Canadian that's sitting here as well on the Bandit. He's got the Shockwire battery. So it's all about trying to keep FaZe out of the map for as long as possible, and then eventually FaZe will get in, then you can fall back. Look at the time. There's only 1 minute 30 seconds remaining into the round, and they still haven't opened up either of the breaches. I mean, this is a really solid defense from Shopify, and it's up to FaZe now to sort of pivot, find new avenues, and that's exactly what KDS is doing. Now they've got the breach opened up, but again, time has already been dwindled down. This has been a successful round for Shopify, but now it comes down to actually winning your fights, of which Canadian could not. Here comes the pressure towards red stairs as well. Through side Zera, Rexon just goes for a walk and gets punished. That was not the position or the time to send in towards CCTV. As Zambi going for the flank, basically no one on site except for Grixer, and he's low on health. The map has opened up dramatically.
Ambi was able to get one, just snuck his way towards the top of red, took the head of the player that was inside the Fenrir mine, and has since then pulled himself back. But you're right, the realization from the side of FaZe is, well, is there only one on site? They didn't throw themselves in, though. Grixer, he sort of had the same idea. So he tucked himself ready on the close shot angle, hoping they just bled in towards Logi here, and they're taking things slow and steady. There's 30 seconds. They can still check. They can still drive. They're still in a 3 versus 2. They are still FaZe. Now, with the 2 players, Shopify Rebellion stacked up and ready to rock and roll. Who's going to be the first catch? There's the spray down onto one. The Revenge is going to start bleeding its way around, but no, somehow Grixer in the back of our mind gets one, and Ambi with the ITA follows suit.
Wow, Grixer to find that second. I know we switched away from him, and probably for good reason. He's in stash. He looks back in towards site, not expecting the second yet. Must have just turned around very quickly at the right time to find that second kill. Shopify Rebellion with a 2-0 start. It is club defense, but it's the way in which they won the round. That's the biggest thing for me. It's not necessarily that they won it, it's how they won it. The extension play, double breach with the stack over towards CCTV, Shockwire batteries, that's great. And then they started to throw a little bit. When they got antsy coming out of Cash back into CC, I felt like they got too aggressive at the wrong time, but credit to Ambi on the flank. You touched on an Emmy, you brought it up, he gets a big kill. He's able to then rotate back up through main stairs, double down defense onto site, and Grix are able to stand strong in Stash, finds 2 kills, and just like that, they win the round. But all of it stems as to the way they started the round. Pressure on the breaches, trying to keep FaZe out of the building. I thought they were very proactive on their defense, and it's a really strong start from them. This is the Shopify Rebellion that we didn't see in Montreal in this same matchup. Maybe it's because they were Sonic.
I mean, they're 50% of the way towards their total round count. And they got the last time they were in a FaZe matchup. But again, there's so many if, buts, and maybes. This is a new day, new dawn, new tournament. This is the new approach. And obviously, we know the history of not only all the players that are on Shopify Rebellion, but also super behind the scenes, what they can bring, and how they sort of approach the game. So statistical, so strategical. They can play and counterplay. The best prep is, you know, getting involved in a game against a team on a major stage. That is one of the only true tests.
I will say, though, for FaZe, it's not all doom and gloom. Both, I mean, probably more so that second round. Like, that was a very winnable round. I thought that their ability to sort of adapt throughout the round as it's like, okay, we've got this jacuzzi problem, let's go CC. Okay, we've got the CC problem, we're going to blow it open, we're going to send one garage rafters, we're going to try and clear them out. If they swing cash into CCTV, we've got players in the right position, so they're watching the right angles. The only downside to it all was Ambi just pulled off a really good flank. And then Grixer gets a double into Stash, which he probably shouldn't have. Those two things don't happen, and they probably win that round. And it's club defense for Shopify. So as good as a starter as it is for the North American team, FaZe have still shown enough here that they can steal a couple of these attacking rounds, of which that would be very detrimental for SR.
Not taking any chances. Look at this, the stack up, the air jabs to kind of lock off the rotates behind them. KDS and the Deimos as well to try and hunt those loose players. They know that what the problem was the flank, was the loose play, was this positioning. They're not taking a risk with it again. They read one round of a game, really didn't like what they saw, and have dedicated themselves to locking it down and trusting they can still go for the approach. And the approach, I don't know if they've opened up the CC side. The wall, are they going to go for the trick? There's the player underneath with the ass charges that's stopping it happen. They're not going to risk their life, but the impact was impactless. I think they tried to catch the side of the wall. It goes open. The flashes start to come through, and now the pressure on towards Red.
I mean, Rexon's going to have to do well here because I'm not sensing a lot of garage pressure from FaZe. They haven't brought the Capital, for instance, so he just needs to be the one to kind of put pressure towards Breach, try and watch in towards Cash if he can, along with CC Window. So Rexon's definitely one that in this round needs to be impactful as Cyber losing his life to Surf. There he is, Rexon watching. But there was one that eventually did push through from Garage, got the kill onto him, but it was immediately traded by Canadian, who was expecting that flank to come through, and Shopify Rebellion with a 3-on-1 as Souls makes his way into the gas babe, though, into what is a very dangerous position, deep inside a catch. With 30 seconds left, he is surrounded, and he seems absolutely hopeless in this position. Shopify Rebellion on the verge of a 3-0 start. Barring an absolute miracle here, and they're playing really patient here. Shopify aren't just hunting Emmy. They're falling back. They know he hasn't got the kit. I mean, this is absolutely beautifully well-played Siege. Fall back, don't peek, don't give him ones, don't let him have any kind of chance in this round.
I mean, there's the end of it, but let's sort of slow it down and you know, pull it back ground, break it down. That's a timeout. Understandable, because FaZe, what's happened there, right? You know, you're looking at them doing the setup, doing the steps, doing what they do. It's par for the course. They have the angle and the opening on the back end. They've, you know, got pressure on towards the position that you said Rexon was in. It is one of the most common positions to play against it. And then they get the wall open, and the response is to just send themselves in. We see a very scrappy, uncomfortable firefight right on the door of the breach that they got in towards construction. We see the Deimos just throw himself in, back towards the window, going for the instant trade. We see the drive. Then they open up onto the door of the bottom garage and get Rexon, but there's another player there. It feels like FaZe are operating almost with not all the intel that they should be gathering. Whether it's because they're confident on their gun skill and drive-through, fair enough. They're FaZe. But as we said before, Shopify can prep, they can play, they can research, they can also win hammers. They have them on their team. You gotta not underestimate the power of this roster, regardless of the fact that the last time you met, not too long ago, was a bit of a washout. They're just throwing themselves into these engagements. And you know, that's not a fight that you should really be taking.
Well, I mean, in fairness for FaZe, the idea is pretty simple. You got CC, you've got Breach, you've got Cash. Hit all 3 positions and angles at once, and if everyone kind of gets at least 1 kill, you're probably going to be ahead. But the problem throughout all of that is Rexon spoils it, because no one's really hitting him immediately. There was eventually one player coming through Garage, but they weren't in sync.
No.
They came a little bit later, and then Canadian gets the trade anyway.
But so did, a little bit later was... You had all of the FaZe players, in fact, operated a little bit later. First one, charges in through the breach. Second one, the Deimos, hops in the window. Third one, comes in towards Garage, gets traded out. Fourth, hops their way in.
It's like that timing, whereas a team, you're like 3, 2, 1, go. It's like they didn't quite follow that mantra properly. And that's not very FaZe-like.
No, well, this is the thing, right? For the people that are like, why are they talking about this? It's because you compare a team to how good they can be. You put the sort of bar that they've shown, they can hit, and that's what you measure them against. And that is something where I think FaZe, the timeout is very needed.
This is also their map pick. I mean, I know it's Clubhouse attack for them, so you always got to add that little caveat. But if Shopify gets to like 6-0 or even 5-1, they are ahead.
It is compliments obviously paid onto Shopify. As you pointed out during the moments, how they played it was brilliant. They didn't overextend. They didn't offer the eager gunfight. They didn't hop themselves around at these uncomfortable angles. They had the cover and the watch, and let's see if that can continue after the break. Now, we have the Monty.
The Monty's got to go main here. I think you try and bait out a couple of Nitro cells, which can alleviate the pressure on the vert up above. You bring the secondary hard breach. The tin can openers can get some of these hatches opened up as well. Capitao eventually will try and clear out back of Arsenal, so you bring that. I don't know why they didn't bring it in the previous round either, put pressure on Rafters, but alas, and it didn't work either. It's a pretty stock standard kind of hit from FaZe. They do have to twitch to try and eventually deal with that mirror window. Obviously, they're going to look to get pressure through the kitchen. This is going to facilitate the Capitao. So FaZe have been fine when it comes to this checklist approach. My only concern, though, is, again, they're just kind of playing into the hands of Shopify, who are just sitting 5 on site, bunch of Nitro cells, a lot of delayed utility when it comes to the Zoto canisters, the gas babes. You've got Rexon as well on the Warden to stop the flash drops and along with the smoke drops. So I think that, again, they look really well set up. Rexon and probably Canadian need to definitely get dislodged by the Capitao if FaZe are going to have any chance of winning this.
This is it, though, right? You're getting yourself set up with this idea that they're doing all the steps, all the process. There's Canadian getting the read on the Monty that's about to start trying to make their
When he sees the Monty, he probably just has to fall back here.
Yeah, he can't stick it out. He's going to shoot him enough to try and slow him with the bullets so he doesn't get entirely caught out. He's looking for the cover. He hears the shield.
All the Nitro?
On and back, and this is all just hot intel.
If it's a solo Monty, which he knows now, he has a go, but he whiffs it a little bit to the left. But I think Canadian's thought process is solo Monty. No one playing behind, I can get that out. But now that second player is here. Handy, though, finding a double kill in towards the site. And in the end, it's 3 from Vidaking as it's a 5-on-1 FaZe. Absolutely clean up on site. This is something we haven't seen in this match so far. The 4th round, it is FaZe that take it comprehensively. Pretty much just through sheer gun power more than anything, able to win all of the fights. Handy finding 2. Vidaking got 1 as well at the end there, and yeah, that was very dominant.
If anything, that is the example that we were sort of making before of when we went FaZe are operating at different levels. That was all together, right? Look at how that round played out. They went for the control of the map and the loose space. They got it. Then they got the sort of breach on the hatches that they wanted to make things accessible on towards kitchen. But then they rotate themselves back round. You have, I think it was 3 of them pushing onto blue, 2 of them pushing on towards dirt itself, and they just pinch at the same time. You can see it in the back end there, and it doesn't give Shopify Rebellion an opportunity to try and pull these loose individual gunfights.
I wonder if a part of that round is that Canadian just got so caught up in the little battle with the Montang. Throws his Nitro cell, he's completely distracted, so it becomes a bit difficult when it comes to aiding out and calls, and he's so focused on that dirt push. He knows there's 2 players there, which does then mean for Shopify, they've got numbers elsewhere, but if Handy's just going to push in, find a double kill, and he is certainly capable, one of the top players in the world, then that's going to alleviate pressure for FaZe pushing forward. Then they have the numbers, they can sweep site, they know Canadian is stuck over towards dirt, Grix is going to be over towards dummies. At the end of the day, as great a start as it has been for Shopify, you've still now given up an attacking round here on Clubhouse with 2 rounds to go. FaZe find a second attack, and they will be very difficult to stop on their own defensive side. So for Shopify, again, it's been good, but it needs to be great if they're going to beat FaZe.
Now, the pressure is starting to put themselves back in here. Shopify, as you said, they've known that the game is going to start to step up from this point. We might have a bit of a showdown and a back and forth on our hands. You can see Vidaking is already putting the pressure here. They've got the Capital that's trying to force the players out, and there was a player almost ready for the catch. But again, it is this group movement. It is this rotation. Now, it was quite late on that they finally went for the execute here over towards the top, and they started well. If it wasn't for a big rotation and a plucky bit of attitude from a stuck-in Logi play, it might have been and probably should have been a FaZe round. The first is Surf caught, and this is full focus FaZe. Once again, they have to watch on towards the rotate.
I'm not sure what Surf is doing there to die. I mean, it's very normal to have one top red, one cash, and you leave them. You don't have to help them. They're there for a reason. They can either fight their way out, find a couple of picks, or they stay and fight. Ultimately dying, but it's about can you take anyone with you. Surf does not need to be in towards Con. Just gives up a freebie to Handy. Ooh. Now the double push over towards top red. You've still got Canadian around Cash, and well, he's dead.
Oh, Ambi does get KDS, and, you know, he started to try and put the pressure back in, but it's Rexon that's probably going to be the next that suffers the fate in the face of a Montaigne. There is some support coming on towards construction. They're on the door. The Monty's calling all of this out, and they've got themselves a little bit of cross angle, but it's a dangerous stack up.
Why are they fighting Cash?
Great take from that kill on the door, but I mean, the Monty change from Vidaking, just reading out or hauling all the information, puts them once again in a Grixer and Ambi versus 4 situation. Can they try and repeat the magic against the Monty?
Jacuzzi's not even open.
They don't need it. They're just
no, I know,
their
but
way
then why
through.
is Shopify playing Cash? Why are they trying to just triple down onto Cash position? You can fall back, play side. Jacuzzi's pretty much locked down. Ambi with another big pick. Grixer had to get that one. Not because it was easy, but because they absolutely required it. It was always a difficult shot. In the end, FaZe, clean house. It's a very easy Cash side push because, well, Shopify basically fed them, and we've given them plaudits. They've been great through the opening 3 rounds, and we were very much riding their train, but that was their worst round they've played so far in this match, and FaZe will punish you. If FaZe are basically saying, okay, you're doing a mirror trick over towards Jacuzzi, we're not going to bother. We're going to go on the Cash side. We're going to go through CCTV. Shopify, like, great. We've got a couple of players there. We might get some picks. But you don't need to triple and quadruple down in that position when you have Jacuzzi locked down. They just kept throwing bodies. I mean, Surf gets caught over towards construction early on because he's not sure. Should I play site? Should I hold con? Should I go to Cash? So the hold for Shopify is just all over the place there.
The change to the Monty has entirely changed the face of
the
this
Monty
game.
has, definitely been impactful. They're struggling to deal with it.
Oh, entirely. And it's a weird thing to sort of talk about from the side of Shopify struggling to deal with the Monty, because they're a team that enjoys Monty, to the point where it started a very fun, heated conversation about, you know, the definition of a great Monty player between some of our analysts and, you know, some of our... I'm not going to name names. Penguin laxing, but there was a bit of a back and forth as to how to utilize a shield to its best ability and who might be great shields. Now, some names were named that are in this lobby, and you know, you expect everybody to have a handle on how to deal with them, and here it's just panicking, a bit of peeling back. Here will also be a good test. Will they try and shut down the Rexon position first? The one that sort of pulled the thread last time round. They have the Capital, they have the Monty, they have everything for a classic push, and the Blackbeard. They want to try and stick themselves in with a little bit more shield. Now, Ambi was free to drift around and open it up, but I'm assuming there'll be some pressure onto Quad Wall, maybe even onto Blue and Adam. Let's see if that is the approach made. There is the door popped open. There is some focus paid towards at least the droning game, but still a bit quiet. KDS might be the tell, the roll, and the trick of the bandit. Isn't quite netting anything. Is the Blackbeard going to try and frag out from the back end? It's a good operator for this exact role. Probably just lob them towards the bandit who's tricking. There it is. And that'll just get rid of those charges, get rid of the player. Oh, the second one, and the breach will get open. Get out of there, Surf! Get out of there! CC breach open. Focus now. How are they going to formulate the take onto Garage?
Yeah, I mean, this is aggressive from Ambi, but I like it in this instance. He's playing behind the bike. He knows that there's probably less pressure coming elsewhere. Yellow ping, though, information on his location. He has to now rotate around, goes towards Lounge, but he's offering a point of difference. If Shopify just have all 5 players on site, up above, like, they're not going to be very volatile towards FaZe. So Ambi is providing that. He is being the one that's a little bit chaotic. and he's playing it quite well. He's playing it quite safe, falls off when he knows the pressure's on.
Vidaking takes a huge blow. The first time we've seen the Monty suffer, but with Cyber running in and running right back out, Surf has the response. There's Ambi getting KDS, and suddenly Vidaking is a man on an island full of motorcycles. Can he try and find his way out of here? Could try and drop hit and get a rotate round there, opening up some space. Handy's off towards the side of stock itself. They have Ambi trapped, caught, but they also only have 45 seconds. They can try and push themselves for the fight. They do. Now they want to try and keep pushing on. They have a good read on who's coming in behind them. Canadian, a huge fight.
Yeah, he's got trapped.
Look at the two players, both FaZe sort of saying, look, we know you are there. But all he's doing is trying to get exactly that reaction. Up main, there's the control coming towards the default plant. What do they have to stop it here?
I mean, a little bit of pressure now into Grixer and Surf as Canadian slowly making his way back through Con. That's so unfortunate for Surf to lose his life there into Cash. Really weakens the site now for Shopify Rebellion with the last 10 seconds into the round. There is Canadian late and slow on the flank and on the rotate back from Bar. And in the end, FaZe will now make it 3 attacking rounds in a row. They have adapted so quickly, so well in this matchup. After a 3-0 start for Shopify Rebellion, they give up 3 attacking rounds in a row to FaZe. It's all 3 and 3 at the half, but that's not good enough on a clubhouse defense. And for all the good work from Shopify, it has evaporated so quickly. And FaZe, again, just flexing their muscles, showing us what they're capable of, what our expectations are of this team.
There's a part of it which sort of looks at the Monty now and looks towards the next map, but you probably know that, well, it's not going to get banned because it's something that, as we said before, Shopify Rebellion like to use and like to bring, but it was entirely just the lockdown, the shutdown of any of the control that they wanted to get. FaZe utilized the operator brilliantly. They sort of brought some attention, and the fun sort of idea of looking back at it is if you go towards the last time these two teams hit, FaZe banned the Monty both maps. And that is sort of this conversation I had before, where you prep and prep and prep against a team. They're a great responsive team. Shopify learned on that. They said, well, you know, we can play against this. But now that the Monty is coming out, now that FaZe have gone, okay, look, we're an adaptation team. How can we change this and bring this? It sort of stumped them a bit.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. Like, I look at the opening kills as well. To give up 4 opening kills in the first half, and you're playing on defense club, that's a little bit startling for me.
Yeah.
And one of those rounds obviously wasn't converted, which was the second round on Gym Bedroom. That arguably was a round I felt like FaZe maybe should have won if they were a tiny bit critical, but also coupled with that was some really good siege from Shopify in that particular round to offset the opening kill for FaZe. But yeah, nevertheless, now the pressure on to Shopify. Oh, wow. Cyber's just completely pinned down.
I was like sort of waiting for that to find its end there. They shut him down inside the bar. The power of the Blackbeard. And again, you know, Canadian, a great shield player, beats that in the same role that we sort of saw from the Monty. Cyber gets locked out. And, well, from this point onwards, the first
Where's the opening kill, though?
Yeah.
I was just touching on it. Obviously, it's been a big factor for FaZe. They've been very successful in that department. But for Shopify to get that opening pick, usage of the Blackbeard, nothing really that Cyber can do. I mean, it was just completely pinned down in that position. Throws out a desperate Hail Mary, quite literally, with a frag grenade, but with the impact. But either way, 3-3, minute and a half, a big attacking round to begin for Shopify. Can rectify some of the issues that they definitely have to overcome. Logipom rings out. Courtesy of Ambi, still has one more available. Feels a little bit late though, getting to work here on the floorboard. Minute 20. Haven't really dealt with Kitchen either, so I mean, Surf's going to have to be very quick here with the Skeleton Key. I mean, the hatch has been opened up, but look at the floorboard. It's not really opened up.
Yeah, you're thinking about now the approach setup. Talked about it with FaZe before when they then rotated the shield round and did the drive. It is still one of the most locked down sites, one of the only sites where people, you know, can entirely be within it and have a lot of place for wiggle room, a lot of place for play. The pressure.
No Capital either in terms of clearing out some of these back positions, so it'll be very direct, especially what we're seeing here from Canadian on the Blackbeard.
Now they're popping and stopping every single entrance onto the woods. The door, the Blackbeard is desperate to swing around the corner, but look at all these FaZe bodies. 3 guns pointed towards the approach here. They know pipes is the story and the answer, but they can't quite get close enough. Handy locks down Surf on the side. They've gotta apply pressure somewhere else. There is a
Rexon, go
body
blue.
going deep, and Ambi gets one over the top. He's fighting for his life. He's looking for the next, but it's Vidaking and Souls that bring us into the 2 versus 2. Still caught out in it. Grix is trying to dig his way past the A case on the back end of it, but now it's 2 separate 1 versus 1s. The first one to win is probably going to take the round, but there's only 10 seconds, so the pressure here is on Shopify. They're trying to swing their way round, but 6 seconds here. Vidaking gets a huge swing. That's the kit. That's the drop. That's the sprint for Vidaking. Unbelievable end to a round that just kept cooking and cooking and cooking.
I mean, that is absolutely clinical from Vidaking and what FaZe are capable of as one of the best teams in the world. They have that in their bag. They have that in all of their players who are all capable of something like that. That is a round that Shopify Rebellion in North America probably win that 10 out of 10. But not against a team like FaZe. You just give them an inch, they take the whole arm. Ambi gets a huge kill there because at that point in the round, I felt like they were getting stalled out. He opened things up for them. Vidaking then gets the kill. That's the kit on the floor with 4 or 5 seconds left. At that point, the only way to win the round is essentially run at Vidaking. He is up for the task. He hits the quick shot. 4-3 to FaZe. That's 4 rounds in a row now as well. And Shopify probably just sitting here like, we're not playing that bad, are we?
No. And this is like, if you sort of compartmentalize the conversations there, as I said, at one point it turned into 2 1 versus 1s, right? You have the battle around the back end of Arsenal and A-Case. You have the one that's on Pipe's wall. The one on Pipe's wall is the one with the kit. Canadian, in response to this, goes round the back, but it turns into a violent ring around the rosies where suddenly he's now going towards the default plant position underneath the kitchen hatch. But the fight that was in Arsenal has rotated its way around on towards blue. He is caught by Vidaking, who reacts at the perfect time to see the back of a Blackbeard sprinting away. If Canadian was just facing 90 degrees to the right, he is not killed in that situation. But in that situation, with 5 seconds, all he is thinking is, I have to get to my teammate, I have to get to this plant point, because we know where Vidaking is. Unfortunately, Vidaking is Vidaking.
Yeah.
Does Vidaking things, and FaZe, 4 rounds in a row. Shopify Rebellion have drifted a little bit away from the power position they were in. But they're only 1 round behind.
That's one way you can look at it.
Yeah.
But they have also lost 4 rounds in a row.
Yeah. It's glass half full, glass half empty.
Yeah. FaZe, to their credit, and this is sometimes the case with these top teams, they kind of do these heroic plays and they play really well, and maybe they don't always get the plaudits because we expect that from them. It's almost like we expect FaZe to always just play perfect, and that's not always going to be the case. They're human beings. They make mistakes, but FaZe, slow start, and then bam, it's just like a snap of the fingers, and suddenly they're just back to FaZe that we know. Ambi with a big opening pick on a KDS, who has now reached double-digit kills for Ambi, up to 11 with that kill onto Vidaking. Advantage for Shopify as they look to hit the site hard and fast. Grix are able to double down the advantage for Shopify, but short-lived. Ambi finally shut down. Big battle for Souls towards top red, slips in towards Cash. Can he find another pick as the plant goes down inside of CCTV? No one able to stop Canadian. The kid is on the floor, and we're into a post-plant scenario.
Threading the needle and dancing, dipsing, dodging, diving, and dropping the bodies either side of it, but as they just push their way through, Souls and Handy. And they have the option for the fight, and it's offered to them. He's on a triple, but he's still got to find 2 more. Could it be the first ace that we have at the tournament so far? Dockerby slips off into the night and has the cross cut ready for the swing. 20 seconds, 7 of that has to be on the diffuser itself, and you're trying to find your way across no man's land in a 90-degree fight. There's the first, but it's just offered a sliver. There is Shopify. Dig their teeth, their claws, and everything in.
Well, I mean, forget the end of that round. It doesn't really matter. It's a 2v1 post-plant. Souls was always going to be in a very difficult position to win that, and well played. They didn't peek. They didn't give him an outlet. It's the middle portion of that round. It's the fast hit from Shopify seemingly out of nowhere. They just pick up the pace. They play a little bit differently than what we've seen from them in this match so far, and they just go. And FaZe, I think, got caught napping. They were completely unexpected of the push. Ambi has been sensational in this game so far. 11-5 for a player that is playing against the caliber of FaZe and putting up these kind of numbers, but most importantly, getting some very crucial entry kills for Shopify Rebellion, and that is why they are being competitive against FaZe, is because of Ambi. He is having a huge game right now. Gritzer as well, 9-4. I mean, those two have been sensational for Shopify. 4-4, an attacking round on the board, and with that gives them a bit of hope that, hey, we can do it. Look what we can do on the attack here. FaZe could do it, we can do it.
4-4. So technically, and I know I've been like, not negative, but you can't ignore the elephant in the room, and the elephant is 4 rounds over 2 maps on a major stage. Hey, different branding. Now you've got Shopify Rebellion on your chest. Wear it. They are wearing it. They've equaled their performance so far. One more round, they've improved upon their performance. That's great mental game.
I think the last thing on Shopify's mind right now is what happened in Montreal. They look focused here.
Listen,
they look
glass half full. new crest, new logo, new us, new year. Who dis? Shopify Rebellion. They should have that as the advertising slogan. You're allowed that. If you're listening, you can take that.
You're going to just give it over, like the intellectual property?
Yeah. I'm so giving. And
well, I think for FaZe as well now, you know, after that previous round, they'll probably be a little bit more prepared for Shopify to change up the pace and be more adaptable. So, you know, FaZe are very good at learning on the fly and figuring things out. We saw that in the first half. You gotta remember, this was a 3-0 start for Shopify, and then FaZe adapted. You know, and so, okay, Shopify get a round win that was not quite conventional. FaZe will probably adapt. So that's where their strength is as a roster and as a team, and why they're one of the top teams in the world. That's why for Shopify to win this map, and let alone the series, they're going to have to be perfect. They're going to have to play arguably their best level of Siege. And I think they've shown glimpses of that in this match so far.
now, what you're looking at here is, again, a very lateral take. If you're unaware, when you're trying to get control of the gym side, you need to lock down the cross-peak possibility from CCTV. You need to make sure that staircase on red isn't just a free rotation round onto the back. They've done that, covered it in the track stingers, and now they can start to focus their attention towards the site itself. But FaZe haven't offered any engagement. There's a couple of players being a little bit flirtatious with an open hatch, but unfortunately the only thing they're seeing right now is air. There is also the Valkyrie underneath, and a lot of that is soft floor for them to play against. So now the question becomes, okay, Shopify, do we focus towards the Valkyrie, focus towards that vertical control so we know we're safe to go for the plant, or just throw ourselves in? The first approach here is on towards Jacuzzi. Long look across the gym equipment. The only thing being lifted right now is utility, as they're still trying to just weigh each other out and put that pressure on, but 50 seconds, something's got to give.
Yeah, they finally got Jacuzzi opened up. Canadian still has a lot of bolts remaining too on the Capitao. This is where you really do need to make your push. You don't want this to go down to 15, 20 seconds, for example. That's going to benefit FaZe. Soul starting to move around, play some off-angle positions. I like that position. Headshot swing onto Ambi, essentially covering 2 positions with 1 spot. Souls has played that perfectly. Does lose his life though, as Shopify actually find 2 in quick succession, and with that, suddenly the door opens up for them.
They have the ping on the player underneath. They know there's only 2 inside the site, and they're in. Now they can try and get themselves off to the races and get the plant. They're on the bulletproof bed, but the bullets swing right their way across. Grixer immediately gets that response towards Vidiking, but 10 heavy seconds start to tick, and Handy ticks them right both off. FaZe still keep themselves 1 step ahead, but now we are in the territory of trading rounds, hitting blows back and forth. Can there be a response from Shopify Rebellion?
It's competitive. I mean, it's competitive Siege. I think Shopify did some good things, some arguably maybe some bad things in that round, but I think largely good things. I thought Souls was just super impactful from this position. It's a good little off angle, playing the doorway towards Con while still watching outside onto the balcony. It's a difficult position because he can die from 2 different ways. So he has to time it perfectly. Ends up finding a big kill. Handy at the end. Double kill. We know he's capable of that. One of the top players, and a 5-4 lead for FaZe, certainly apt, very much deserved. For Shopify, this is the kind of game that you might end up losing, say 7-4, 7-5, but you can walk away and hold your heads high. But they're probably sick of that. They're probably sick of that kind of mentality. They want to win. They want to take down these top teams. They want to get to that hammer. To do that, you've got to go through teams like FaZe, for instance. So Handy 11-5 leading the way for FaZe. No surprises there, but for Shopify, it's Ambi and Grixer who have been leading the way. All 3 of those players on 11 kills, but FaZe as a team have been far more spread in their efforts. All 5 players very much giving something, performing quite well. Even KDS, he might be 3-8, but he's got a lot of assists.
From this point onwards, there's still eyes on towards, obviously, Canadian getting themselves in the Blackbeard, or with the Ossa, even. Different shield operator as towards they had when the
It's a shield.
Blackbeard.
It's all the same.
Yeah, shield ops are shield ops, but, you know, you think about
With this
now,
one you can place on the ground.
True. You can also place it on windows. And sometimes indoors. Yeah. Thanks for the breakdown of what Ossa does. But you have a bit of a mobility choice here. It's a Canadian. The problem we talked about before was he didn't really know the right place to be, because it's easy for us to look down and say this is the best place to make that decision amongst the heat of the fire with 5 seconds left. Close to impossible. Now he can leave the first shield and move off. See if he can try and find a different opportunity, a different route. He can offer himself a little bit more support and a little bit more mobility if he has time to set up.
What I like about the Ossa is it's very flexible. It's a very versatile operator here for basement on Clubhouse. There's a couple of ways you can play it. So you can push down oil pit through blue. You can go dirt, main stairs. The drop even from kitchen, technically with the shield in hand, is also another way in which you can play it. So it really comes down to the way in which Shopify feel like there's the weakness and try and hit that with that Ossa, with those shields. Keeping him alive in terms of Canadian is certainly going to be very much a high impact play for them. They can't lose Canadian early. He's going to be a big part of their win condition in this round. There's something to kind of look at. He's going to be the one that essentially unlocks round for them, even if it is as simple as just dropping hatch and planting behind, you know, one of his shields.
Now the pressure on towards the mirror window, and this power position that was played back and forth. They actually opted to try and go for the triple reinforce on the church wall this time, but it's not going to fully stand. However, that is currently a hop breach, which is a very uncomfortable one to try and move in, take a firefight at the same time. So whether they opt for the widening of it or limited utility is needed elsewhere. Not entirely sure if there's a lot of juggling done or what else is left to be done. Obviously, with Buck losing his hard breach charges, they're down to just the Habana play alongside it. Stacked, ready to rock and roll on the kitchen hatch, but what are they cooking up? An Ossa shield drop. They're going to get themselves deployed. It'll only take one explosive to stop it. They're tucked around the back. The cover's on the kitchen hatch, and Handy does get one, but they're not quite confident enough to go for the plant. It's traded back and forth on towards Dirt, and Canadian, he's tucked, waiting, technically. A 3 versus 3 because Cyber is in no man's land. There's the attempt on the plant, and an attempt to try and kill somebody that's whiffed and missed, and a post-plant situation with vertical control, sure. Bitter King has thrown himself in and got themselves locked down. They might even be able to get Cyber back up, which they're going to do right now, so it's a 4 versus 2. But as long as they've got vertical here, as long as they have this position, FaZe have to clean it out. They're going to have to send 2 bodies up. Grixer, more than ready for the first engagement. Deep across the bar, serving up pain. Now with 3 versus 2, 20 seconds. Again, 7 of that has to be the defuse, so they've only really got a pocket full to work with. They're playing against it.
Right side,
they're slipped around. There's the take, there's the drop. There's only a little bit left in it now. You've just got to hold it. But it's one that Shopify lock right back in.
So in that round, Shopify really, really well played. They play to their win con, which is going to be the kitchen drop, Ossa shield, and then play from above. They did that, and they did that well. But I'm sorry to say, FaZe, that was a really, really, really bad attempt to retake. That was awful. That was a 4v2, and all you have to do is essentially go up main, pressure kitchen, kill the player in kitchen. I mean, you don't even need to push stock to bar. I mean, Grixer actually, I felt like, was maybe not necessarily watching an angle that he needed to. It just so happened that Handy went for that flank. He gets a free kill. So Handy and co would love to have that moment back again. That was certainly, I've seen teams in OS be able to retake better than that. I had to be cool. I'll take that one back. But you know what I'm saying here is FaZe probably could have done that a lot better.
You're allowed to say that. It's your region.
They suck.
So, the timeout is called by Shopify. A little bit of a surprise move here, but you trust the team to work. Again, if you're unaware, this is the one moment throughout a game where the coach, super on the back there, is allowed to talk to the team, but at the same time, the other team is also allowed to talk to their coach. So FaZe are offered the same.
I've got to say, in terms of the plaudits here to super, not a lot of teams will necessarily take what I would consider a positive timeout. It's always the negative one. It's always like, oh, we've lost a couple of rounds in a row, timeout. Yeah. But sometimes you can play well, take the timeout, and it's all about reinforcement.
Yeah, or the classic Helby timeout. So there was the time where Helby, the coach, I can't remember what roster it was at the time, realized that the team they were playing against were getting really toxic against each other. So they won a round, and then he called a timeout just to sort of tell to his players, look, this is less about me talking to you, but more about I can see them shouting at each other over there. Yeah. I'm going to let them stew, baby.
Well, 5-5.
Yeah, perfect. I mean, At this point, it's a brawl, and I love that. There is nothing more exciting than when you start to see on the biggest stage, at the biggest tournament, the bigger teams that have possibilities of not only hitting the main stage, but maybe lifting the hammer.
There's not much difference right now between them.
No.
I think both teams have shown that they've been able to win rounds through sheer fragment power and win rounds through game plan and win rounds by punishing the other team's mistakes. So both teams have kind of covered the board there, and all facets of really that sort of holy trinity of being able to win rounds of Siege. They've both done that. That's why it's 5-5. I still get the feeling that FaZe, because they're on defense, slightly in favor, but you cannot take your eyes away from this game right now because Shopify Rebellion on the attack are finding avenues through different means. You know, previously we've seen it with Ambi be able to kind of push in, get a couple of kills. Then we saw it in the last round where things weren't quite working, but they stuck to the game plan, one based on their win con. What have they got for us here? Rexon, well, he goes over to the Glaz. Talk about a big switch up here. I'm going to be very curious to see how this works because it's the kind of operator that it's either going to look really great or it's going to look really bad.
This first kill, you have a lot of dictation on towards the pace. Now, you might be questioning, if you're a newer viewer, coming in towards this, the impact versus the drone. Drones are some of the most important parts of this game. Intel drives success here, and especially around a team that is built on towards Canadian and his classic playstyle of let's do this, let's learn this, and then do this. It's operation. The smokes cover on towards at least some of the attention here. They're trying to find an inroad.
This is taking too long, though.
Yeah.
If you want to kind of put a downer on this right now for Shopify, it's the time factor. We've still got a lot of work to do in clearing out rafters. Canadian, of course, on the Capital is going to have to get those bolts over. Headshot from Rexon, though, finds KDS.
They're in.
And so far, it's working out.
They're in and they're off to the races. Ambi, he wants to swing and put the pressure on.
They don't even know.
Is it the second? He can't quite find it. But now, all the sort of alarm bells are a cacophony around them. Handy, he's holding on towards the top of red. Vidaking's on the back of the table, but they have a minute.
No more smokes, though. So the Glaz is not going to be able to play off those smokes, either from the Capital or his own smoke, something to consider. Logic Bomb's still available for Grixel, along with the Firebolt as well for Canadian. In terms of the utility still remaining for both of those two, there's basically nothing, though, for Handy and for Vidaking. This is a rather even round, but Shopify have the edge. With 40 seconds left, a 3v2, and just a tiny bit more utility as they start to make their way in. Canadian through rafters with the kit, and now it's all about getting it down successfully. Oh, a shot from Vidaking! No, onto Grixer. Sideswipes his head, and suddenly now Canadian's entry into the site not going to be that easy.
Absolutely massive take. Doesn't get the second, though. Look at the health on Canadian. He's a sliver, and they know they've got to try and push right now because it's the only time. It's a 2 versus 1. Under and over. There's the cover from the Glaz. But 14 seconds. A sliver of a pellet will be the end of it. Can they try and get themselves?
They're not sure where he is.
9 seconds. We are ticking our way once again towards the end. He's got to try and cross the divide. The distance.
He got off the block.
Why did you get off the block, Canadian? Hold back on. He's down. No.
What?
Unbelievable, Canadian.
What was that?
What?
No.
What happened?
Oh,
Okay.
Canadian.
Wait. Let us slow that down because it got a little bit loosey-goosey at the end there.
That is where composure needs to be at its paramount, and an unfortunate moment for Canadian. He gets off the plant. Not at that moment. This replay is too late. There was so many more moments even prior to it. Well played from Handy, and it goes back a little bit. I didn't quite have the time to sort of talk about it as it happened, but the rotate down towards Lounge to open up the floorboard says to Canadian, there's pressure down below, and I can't plant default now because of it.
Yep.
But Handy never, ever stayed there to watch it. He just opens the floorboard and runs back.
This is it. Okay, we're going to break that down just very quickly into how that went down. Because, you know, a lot happened. So that part was brilliant. He put the phantom pressure on, and phantom pressure in the concept of sieges, you have an opening. Now they have to know whether it's being watched or not. Great. Instantly pulls himself back up in a 1 versus 2. What I assume happens, and you can never really know because you're not in the calls or the comms, is the player pushes across the divide. Now, Canadian, I think, gets off the plant before the cover gets killed or gets dropped or down. So they were expecting the player to just try and sprint straight past. He expected the player to come into his firefight. It doesn't happen. Handy stops himself, just goes for the 1 versus 1 engagement on the player outside, maybe thinking it'll be a post-plant, but I can win the next engagement. Who knows? Canadian gets off. At that point, he is in a sticky situation.
Then he gets back on it.
Then he gets
he's
back on
sticking it, and then he gets off again.
And then he gets off again.
Then he gets back on it, and then he gets off again.
Again, it's super easy for us to sit here and say what the right or the wrong play is because
you got to commit to at some point. You have to make the commit, and that's where the composure. And Canadian has that composure. He just couldn't show it there in that moment, and that's the reality. Is it should be 6-5 to Shopify. Cyber them with the opening pick. And this is where FaZe are just so good. They will punish you. And now in your head for Shopify, it's like you've still got that little moment of doubt. Comes into this next round. Bam. 2 opening kills. Say goodbye to Rexon and Grixer. It becomes a 5 versus 3. And now FaZe are on the precipice of taking this opening map. But Canadian wanting to make amends. Big kill, 4v3. And Envy looking to get aggressive towards blue, but he falls back.
Now, that's at least one back on the side of it. The Scopos is trying to get themselves out of there. Don't know Scopos, one of the more recent operators. They can swap towards a different shell hidden on the other side of the map. The other one will remain. It can be destroyed and removed. That allows Aroma to draw some attention, and now the player is back on site. They have no pressure. You hope that they check the bathroom and get rid of that robot so it's not just going to pop up behind and cause a problem. No, they haven't. So at any point, the Scopos could change back towards that operator, and suddenly they're above them. Suddenly they're behind them. We'll see if that happens. It's sort of like Chekhov's giant robot with a gun. Here, 3 versus 4, FaZe, they have the body advantage. They have one of the most defender sort of driven sites possible throughout the play on this. It was close before, but the limitations is the gadgetry at this point from the side of Shopify.
Well, there's still plenty of time here, but they're all stacked over towards Secret, coming in towards Blue. I'm not a big fan of this right now. Although playing behind Blackbeard and Canadian, at the very least, there's a bit of comfort. If you are Surf, never mind. Surf will lose his life. Behind him, a little peek and a swing from KDS to spot out the attack of Shopify. And they are well prepped to try and take this map out. But Ambi, double headshot out of nowhere! And suddenly changes the course of this round and potentially the map until he's traded by Cyber. 2v2 into the final 20 seconds of regulation.
Barely any help on the side of Canadian and Surf, and Canadian goes down. Surf, he's got to try and get himself past them first. He does. He slipped himself on towards the back end of the dining table, and he's going to hold the plant for now, but with 10 seconds, they're just spraying themselves. Here's a man who holds his composure. There is Cyber, though.
That's what Canadian needed to do in the last round. Oh, FaZe get it done, though. 7-5 for what turned out to be a very entertaining map. In this best of 3, it's 1-0 to FaZe to begin, but certainly they were made to work for it in a lot of different areas. A 3-0 start for Shopify Rebellion, followed by 4 rounds in a row to FaZe, and then it all kicked off towards the end, back and forth, back and forth. Canadian will be kicking himself on, of course, the previous round, but nevertheless, FaZe closed it out 7-5. They take Clubhouse.
I mean, you have to look towards how good both teams were. That was a really exciting game. And let's be honest, both teams made mistakes. And again, as I said at the very start of this, you hold teams to the pillars that they have built. You know the bars that they can jump over. You know where they can reach and achieve. That is where you measure them. That is where you drop them in and drop them off. And, FaZe sort of struggled at points. Shopify sort of struggled at points. But both of them showed what they're capable of. I have to throw us to a break. I don't want to because I want to keep going.
We'll be back.
We'll be back after a quick break. Don't go anywhere.
Keep an eye out for contact.
Available now.
Segura aí. Podem começar a conversar agora entre vocês, trocando ideia.
Na moral, o Uruguai vacilou.
Era o mesmo que vai perder o Vira no Brasil?
Que isso, cara? Que isso, moleque? Caralho, viado. De onde você veio isso, mano? Caralho, filho da puta, mano. Não acredito, velho. E aí, mano? Como é que você tá, cara? Boa, tranquilo. Caralho, que isso?
Você achou mesmo que ia perder o Vira no Brasil?
Caralho,
12 horas de fusão, pô.
Você pegou?
Cheguei hoje.
Caralho, que da hora.
Meu nome é Vinícius Merletti, falo aqui de Floripa. Eu sou de São Paulo, né? Sou paulista, mas eu vim aqui para Floripa em 2019 para estudar. Eu passei aqui na UFSC, que é a Universidade Federal aqui de Floripa. Hoje eu tenho grandes amigos no Rainbow Six, que o JP eu já conhecia ele antes, né? A gente estudou juntos bastante tempo. E conheci também o Busta e o Tóquio. São grandes amigos meus que a gente fez dentro do jogo, fiz dentro do jogo. E são amigos que hoje eu levo pra vida. Hoje eu abriria facilmente a porta deles da minha casa. São pessoas de um coração gigante que no momento que a gente tá jogando a gente se diverte muito. Então a gente se esquece às vezes do problema, algum problema do trabalho que possa ter ocorrido. E no momento que a gente tá no jogo a gente tá dando risada, tá focado em ganhar, às vezes dá um rage, mas faz parte. Ó, do KM ligando. Olha aí, quer comer, cara, vai comer. Ó, rapel varanda fora. Tomei. Puta caramba. Tomei, velho. Então eu descobri que o Invi ia ser no Brasil, ali em São Paulo. A gente acabou comprando os ingressos, mas passou um tempo, foi passando os meses, e eu acabei encaixando uma viagem bem num dia. Prometi uma viagem pra minha namorada, falei pra eles que eu não ia mais. Eu tinha falado pra eles que não ia, eles ficaram super irritados, porque a gente comprou bem quando lançou os ingressos, tava um preço um preço excelente ali. Aproveita muito, cara, Invi no Brasil, vai ter uma atmosfera única, aproveita bastante lá, não esquece de mandar muita foto, você sabe que eu queria muito estar indo aí, e pô, vacilei contigo. Mas vai ter mais outras oportunidades, tá? Aproveita muito por mim, tá? Falou, mano. É nóis, tamo junto. Pô, ele acredita mesmo que eu não vou. Faltando poucos dias, decidi ir pra São Paulo e ver essa experiência incrível. E ainda eu quero muito ver a cara deles quando eu for fazer essa surpresa. Acho que vai ser maravilhoso, eles vão ficar muito emocionados, assim, vai ser um encontro épico. Presencial Invitational com as pessoas que eu sempre joguei, passei horas do meu tempo jogando, me dedicando ao jogo ali, me divertindo. E estar com eles lá, viver esse momento vai ser muito maravilhoso.
Pra mim, tá? Segura aí. Podem começar a conversar agora entre vocês, trocando ideia.
Na moral, o Uruguai vacilou.
Acharam mesmo que eu ia perder o Invi no Brasil?
Que isso, cara? Que isso, moleque? Caralho, viado. De onde você veio? Isso, mano. Caralho, filho da puta, mano. Não acredito, velho. E aí, mano? Como é que você tá, cara? Boa, tranquilo. Caralho, isso, mano.
Você achou mesmo que ia perder o Invi no Brasil?
Caralho,
12 horas de busão, pô.
Você pegou?
Cheguei hoje.
Ai, que da hora, mano. Nós é o caminho inteiro falando, não acredito que o Uruguai vai perder essa porra, mano.
Não, a gente combinou agora de falar isso. A gente já tinha decidido ir há muito tempo. Desde que lançou, ele mandou mensagem e falou, ó, compra agora. Aí compramos, beleza. Aí ele mandou e falou assim, pô, mano, não vai dar, vou viajar e tal. Eu falei, pô, você vai perder isso aqui, mano. Não sei nem como vai ser a próxima oportunidade que vai ter.
Vim de Floripa, 12 horas de busão. E foi isso, tamo aqui.
Que pilantra, mano.
It's Versus Pro versus W7F! Contra 3, Casey novamente garante o jogador finalizado.
E pra mim é um sonho realizado. Principalmente por eu estar aqui e estar com meus amigos, meus parceiros do squad e aqueles amigos que a gente nunca viu pessoalmente. Tá tendo essa oportunidade de todos eles virem aqui em São Paulo e ter essa resenha, conversar sobre o jogo, o off-game também.
Well, welcome back. We find ourselves here, hurtling in. I say hurtling, actually. The players look quite relaxed. They're quite chill. Maybe not hurtling is the right word. We're cruising. Jazzily. towards the second map. Now we have a couple of highlights, obviously, from the first map, and yeah, I kind of want to rewatch a couple of these moments. It was a back and forth in the first half. 3 great rounds taken by Shopify Rebellion. Great movement, great motion, great introduction towards their SI 2025. But timeout led FaZe in towards starting to scream themselves back in, driven by a Montaigne that I'm super curious to see if we get banned as we head into the second map, because
I would imagine so going into labs.
Yeah,
You'd probably have to ban it. But yeah, I mean, this was a great game. I think it's also a tale of multiple tales. For Shopify Rebellion, a dramatic start, 3-0. Yes, it's on defense, but they were playing really, really good siege. Ambi was hot, absolutely firing on all cylinders. And then FaZe adapted, pivoted really, really well, really, really quickly, and got themselves, 4 rounds in a row. But then Shopify, instead of crumbling, they got back into it.
yeah, I mean,
And arguably, if it weren't for, in the 11th round, if they get that plant down, it's a 2v1 post-plant. You've got one on the exterior. Like, it really ends up being a very difficult round to lose. They go 6-5. That's OT minimum. And in the end, FaZe clutch up. FaZe then get the 12th round, and it's 7-5. And in the end, for Shopify, this is the hardest part, is you get nothing from that map. Like, it's just like, we played well. We had good moments, but now we don't get anything, and we head over to Nighthaven Labs.
and this is what we sort of talked about at the start of all of this, is Labs has a similar feel at comp towards what Club does. It has similar sort of breakdowns. You have a very heavily guarded basement site with some soft that you can play and shepherd around above it, but still getting into there is the difficulties. At the top, it's got a little bit of a divide. You start a push on one side, then you try and rotate your way around towards IT, towards the other. We'll see sort of visual similarities in the take on the grander sort of scale. But, I mean, what a sort of map that first one was. Rexon and KDS.
It's also a similar kind of map level for Shopify as well, where, this was a team that was 4-0 on Clubhouse, 3-0 on Labs. Like, these are the kind of maps that they like to play. But FaZe Clan are good enough that they can also, too, win those. 5-1 on Clubhouse, but only 1-1 on Labs. But as you were saying, Emmy, and I agree with you, there's a lot of elements that are very similar between the two of them. And we've already seen from FaZe, they've played this map at the utmost pinnacle level you can, which is map 5 of an SI Grand Final. And they were 6-1 up. So that's the kind of level that they can bring on this particular map coming up in terms of Nighthaven Labs.
Then what happened?
It doesn't matter what happened after that.
Then what happened?
It doesn't really matter after that. But I think for Shopify, this should hopefully be their map, because I think that they did enough on Clubhouse that I'd be very disappointed if they walk away from this series with a 2-0. I think, like a 2-1 loss to FaZe here would be a pretty good start to their campaign for SI25.
Well, this will be the start of the setup here. Obviously, as we said, we're going into Labs next. The third, if we find our way, again, has a lot of fun story because it is Bank. It is the map where they got 0-7 last time in Montreal. But hey, as we said, it's a fresh sort of play. It's a fresh sort of
They haven't won it for quite a long time.
Yeah, well, silver linings, positive energy. Think positive, I
am thinking very positive. I think this is
PMA.
This is the kind of point in the tournament where you don't need to necessarily win all of your matchups, and a team like FaZe can get the better of you right now, as long as you can take good takeaways and you can have a lot of positives from it. And I think you can do that for Shopify.
I love the idea that it's like, you don't have to win them. You probably want to.
You probably should win them.
So for the context, obviously, I don't know if we've talked about it here. You are looking in these group stages that one team from each group will be eliminated. Now, you are looking also at what is the group of death, really. A lot of the best teams from this tournament, a lot of tournament favorites are here. If you can survive this gauntlet, there's a good chance.
I mean, the big one will be, I think, Shopify, if they can play as well as they've played so far on Clubhouse. Can they beat Team Secret? Yeah, I think they can.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they will. Furia, I think they can. I'm not saying they will.
Yeah.
CAG, they should win and win comfortably. I mean, CAG, unfortunately, are the sole provider of probably going to be a lot of wins in this particular group of death. And when it comes to Group B, that I'd be absolutely bamboozled if they don't find their way into that bottom spot. Now, of course, if you finish 4th in the group, then you do begin in the lower bracket, which is not a place you want to be.
Wow. Nighthaven Labs, the home of Nighthaven. Do you know much about the lore of Siege? Are you a lore enjoyer, enthusiast?
I'm not a big lore guy.
Okay. You not,
I don't think Guz is a big
Can you
lore
read?
guy. Well, I can read, but do I read? Is the real question. And the third question of that, do I want to read?
Well,
And the answer to that is no.
Oh. I like reading.
That's good.
And I like reading that Montaigne has been banned.
Yeah, I mean, no
Not
surprise.
messing around.
No surprise.
Yeah, it was.
It flipped the entire narrative of
Yes.
Clubhouse.
It was 100% of their win rate is because they had Monty. Not even, you can't even be like, oh, is it just a coincidence? No.
I will say,
Watch
though,
those rounds.
that is a little bit of a weakness for FaZe then if they're going to be reliant on the Montaigne throughout this tournament. Teams will be able to ban it away. Obviously, then it opens up other avenues, and we know FaZe aren't just going to be a one-trick team. It's not like ban Monty, beat FaZe, but that is just something to consider to some degree, that if you want to find weaknesses within the FaZe roster, there's one. There's a little weakness there. Like they do like the Montaigne, they play it well, and it very much changed the course of Clubhouse. It was a 3-0 start for Shopify, then the Montaigne comes out, and everything just changes. They couldn't deal with it. And that's actually the other part of the equation, though, if you kind of want to touch on it, is for Shopify, is it more that they couldn't deal with it, or was it like the Montaigne play from FaZe was really good? Maybe a bit of both.
Well, I mean, I know I sort of cited a statistic, and I was slightly wrong. It was 100% banned in the last showdown, but one of the times was actually banned by Shopify. They've instantly gone back to allowing it. I don't check the VODs while I'm live casting. I don't know if they have the option to. Either way, it's instantly back off, and we start ourselves here, tippy top of Night Haven Labs, with FaZe leading in on towards their defense here. You have the option of delivering themselves across, and as I said before, this site almost operates in a similar way to how we saw Jim. You want to try and put the pressure on towards IT, that you're seeing them get the reinforcement, get control of rafters, but at the same time, do not ignore jungle and connector here on the back end. You want to put that phantom pressure into the atmosphere so they don't feel comfortable. And if you're feeling particularly fun, throw your way up Fish and Blue and see if you can swim yourself to victory. Hey, Cyber, you're going to start doing Cyber things with a Valkyrie? It feels like yes, as he's ripped and ready to go with a spray on towards the spawn that does not catch anybody.
Yeah, low risk on that particular spawn peak, which isn't usually the case, because when you spawn peak, there's that risk attached to it that someone may be watching the window and kind of shoot back at you. But just the way he kind of shoots there, it's very difficult to see him losing his life, and he had every chance of maybe getting a little bit fortunate and finding an opening kill. And Night Haven Labs, again, akin to Clubhouse, if you can find that opening pick on a map like this, it becomes very difficult for the attacking team. So you do want to be somewhat aggressive on the defense. It's not all about just kind of sitting back doing nothing, because if you can find those picks, they are incredibly rewarded for the rest of the round.
Now, it looks like they're getting themselves here the work done on IT first, as I said, and with the Thatcher on the board, it shouldn't be too hard, but KDS, he's in the position to try and bandit trick against it, and
well,
there it is.
Timing well off there, and that's an easy, quick fallback.
Yeah, they're not going to risk it. Canadian's found his way up here as well. Towards the top of rafters, as I said, it's a sort of 2-point position, and now the player underneath is going to cause some problems. The Canadian has the shield in the right direction this time around, and he's not quite going to get caught. So Cyber dips his way out past the billiards table and is going to sit and float underneath the site once again. With the C4 capabilities, he can cause some damage and some drama later on in the round, but he's already maybe replaced his, or popped it entirely. Even 2 C4s left for the team from the 4 they started with. We'll see if they can try and net a result with 1:20 left. The first is Grixis. There goes the Valkyrie. There goes the need to pay attention below. Can they now start to put the pressure on? They are still eyeing up the chance here on towards Fish and Blue. The rotate round. It looks like Canadian might start trying to go for a little bit of a pinch. There's the pull on towards jungle I talked about before now, where they're able to get one more in towards the depth of sight. It's an encircling, like a snake that coils around FaZe's hold on the top floor, but can they find a single breath? It's a bit of a motion, and he doesn't quite get the connection. 2 for Surf, 2 left for FaZe.
I wish more teams would put pressure over towards meeting and conside when it comes to command and server. And this is where Shopify found a lot of success in this round. KDS will get one back, but he's by himself now. And even with the second over towards Electrical, it's largely irrelevant unless he can go and find the entire ace, the entire team required here for KDS to win this round for FaZe. Shopify should be able to kickstart this map with an attacking round win, which would be a very detrimental start for FaZe Clan. That is a wonderfully played round from Shopify, as they were able to encircle the site. Had many different avenues as well. A lot of it starts too with the IT breach getting opened up, getting rafters control. Then that gives them position to move around the rest of the map, go over towards the meeting con side, find a couple of kills, stretch that defensive phase. Now they can't quite cover all of these avenues. Not even Blue was really brought into that round. They could have easily had even more pressure for Shopify. So that was a really well-worked round, and a little bit disappointing from FaZe on one of the better defensive maps, in terms of defensive sites even more so, that they capitulate in the opening round.
Cool celebrations this time round as well. You'd sort of compare it before. There was huge hype when they got the 3 in a row at the opening of the previous one. That was just step for step perfect. Do you know what my favorite thing is of being a caster and esports play-by-play? Is when I say something and it happens. And I got that 100% right as a team.
We don't get those often.
We don't. I mean, you and I, obviously, we don't usually cast together. We are technically 2 play-by-plays. And
Well, we are 2 play-by-plays.
Yeah, oh yeah.
There's no technicalities.
Logically, we are 2 play-by-plays. But our big brains still, apart from your inability.
I always say to guys, a broken clock is right.
Yeah, and does that ever happen for you, or are you
twice a day?
That's why
I get 1 or 2 every broadcast. I'll get 1 or 2.
That's why we call you the grandfather clock.
Not that old.
2 minutes.
I'm not Tim.
No, true. Well, he's like he's
the great grandfather.
Tim isn't even a clock. Tim's a sundial at that point. 2 minutes 30. And we start to find, again, another approach here on towards the top floor. You need to make sure you have this lockdown, and they do that for the snappy entrance on towards the fight on Rafters, but it's not offered to them. Handy does take a bit of a scrap elsewhere, but it's Cyber that needs to try and dig himself out of it. He was here to create pressure, to try and buy time. The Dockerby calls out, and Shopify Rebellion don't want to waste any time at all. And they're not going to entirely throw themselves in, because they know the danger that Cyber can produce, but at this point he's not being offered the fight itself. Redroning, rechecking, and Handy, his escape route has been called out, so he has to take the hatch drop now. There is too much around him. The position was almost ready for them to get on the hatch as well, but instead he finds a new one, finds a new place, drifts closer and closer towards the stairs that lead him back down towards the site. It is creating an almost pitter-patter rainfall from the top of the building down towards the bottom that they just have to slowly and steadily clear them out of the positions.
Yeah, and they can kind of take their time because they know that FaZe will have to be roaming its basement labs. You don't necessarily want to have 4 or 5 players on the site. You want to get second and first floor control. Typically, if you go second floor, you do rotate pretty quickly. Souls. I mean, you've got to know your position. It's an easy kill for Rexon. It's a little mistake there from FaZe, punished. And again, Shopify in this series are showing their quality. Like, they are a top team, and they will punish mistakes from other teams, including it to the level of FaZe. They're on the verge of a 2-0 start on the attack of Labs. This series, I mean, it could very well go to bank, and what a redemption map that could be for Shopify. Let's not go too early, though. We know Shopify started well over on Clubhouse, and it all crumbled down pretty quickly. The Blackbeard, a nuisance, annoying. FaZe still just trying to make contact on this first floor, but it is not working out. FaZe are playing in a way in which they want these fights, but it's Shopify that are winning them.
Again, FaZe, they're holding onto the back end. They're spraying off towards EXO, but there's a Blackbeard that makes a quick Kool-Aid man hello through the wall. The spray over the top on towards Vending. At this point, could this be?
This might be a timeout. This might be a 2-0 timeout.
I mean, it's probably not going to be a win. Bitter King has pulled off some magic before. At this point,
and the reason why I say that is there's not really a third site you're going to go to. So you're either going to repeat up above or you're going to repeat down below, of which you've lost both of them. So honestly, if there's a time to talk things over for FaZe, it's probably already now.
Well, they're not going to opt as far as I can see. Oh, no, the mics are down. Timeout.
If there's one thing I'm good at when it comes to this game, it's guessing timeouts. Guz will tell you, he will, and he doesn't like to give me any credit. Look, it's an innate ability. But it's a talking point when it comes to timeouts for me is you never want to take them too late.
Oh, 100%.
The only time it's probably too early is after 1 round.
Yeah.
I'd never say you should take 1 after 1 round, but when
unless
we've seen
something
what we've
really
seen,
bad has happened,
which is you're playing Labs defense and you've lost the 2 primary sites, talk things over. Guys, slow start. Let's not let this get out of hand. Timeout early on. Get things back underway.
I mean, let's sort of look at the context of this game right now. So you can't see the scoreboards, but 2 rounds. FaZe have got 2 kills over those 2 rounds
and 1 player
as well. And it's just that sort of struggle of them trying to get the hold in. The timeout here, not only does it give them a chance to talk, they break that momentum. They break that ability for Shopify Rebellion to just keep throwing themselves in round after round after round. And hey, last time they pulled the sort of timeout, they were able... Ashton, never gets sold. Last time they pulled... Sorry, it just pops up in the middle of the screen. We're in Boston, if you didn't know that. They had an 100% success rate. After their timeout, the conversation worked. Here's the replay. Threaded the needle. And then deaded the needle.
Yeah, just losing the contact fights. Yeah, Labs, yes, it has elements to Clubhouse, but one thing I think it very much differs in is you're going to have a lot more of those kind of rounds where lurkers and roamers and contact and people pushing up first floor, second floor. There's a lot more of that elevation to it. The vertical nature of this map is certainly more prevalent. And that's where Shopify have looked really good so far in these 2 rounds. I think they're very much playing the elements a little bit better on this map than, say, in comparison to Clubhouse. What have FaZe kind of talked about? 2 rounds down, struggling on both of the primary sites. Sometimes it's just a little break, a little cooler. Say, okay, calm down. Get our heads back into the game. We're playing defense. We don't have to really do too much.
So, just one more point of clarification as well on how dangerous this group is. Yes, there's probably a team that isn't one of these 2 that's going to find themselves at the bottom, but you have to look towards the top teams and how important it is to be at the top. We go from this group phase after the first 5 days of playing everybody in your group once, regardless of how well or how badly it's going, in towards the double elim bracket. Now, the person who comes first, they get an instant bye. They're in the upper bracket quarterfinals.
Yeah.
They only really, I think, have to win 2 games. Then they're on the live stage as well.
Yeah. The best pathway.
You know, and then from then on, you're either second.
Second and third is, you know, a bit of like whatever.
Second gets to pick who they go up against from who goes third, and fourth start in the lower bracket. They have no lifeline. So you could be in the top 4 and make your way out, but first is huge. If you want to find your way towards getting that million in the sort of top position, getting yourself, the difference is
every position is slightly better than the one below it.
Yeah. That's usually
even
how
if you're
it
fourth,
works.
it's like, well, at least we're not out.
At least we're not out. And, well, Andy is out of this round. Rexon gets the swing. Back round gets the first. And this is that importance of a game like this because it could be the difference between, you know, the bye or not.
Yeah, and Handy's a big influence when it comes to this FaZe roster. He was 13-7 back on Clubhouse, a significant player. The Cyber 2 will fall at the hands of Ambi, who has found 2 kills in this round, and Shopify, with still well over a minute remaining, have just picked up the pace. They find a couple of kills. It's now a 4v2. Bit of a knockdown, though, onto Rexon, but Ambi's found a 3rd surf to finish it all off. And Shopify, out of the tactical timeout for FaZe, look even sharper, even cleaner, and far more dominant than even the opening 2 rounds. They take a 3-0 start for the 2nd map in a row.
I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say what I wanted to say, but I'm going to put a pin in the thing that I haven't said.
This 3-0 feels different.
No, okay, but I'm going to put... This is me. I'm gesturing. I'm putting a pin in the thing. You guys at home, you can't see this. Just imagine it. Use your mind's eye. Or do it along at home if you want. Hold your hand out. Put a pin in it. This is a thought that's going to come around to later. But I don't want to say it aloud because I do not want to jinx anything. You know?
Okay.
Okay. I mean,
if we don't know what the thought is, you could just make it up later on.
I probably will. What you are entirely right, though. This feels like a different 3-0.
Yeah.
Because
they're attacking on Labs, and they look far more dominant.
Everything is well paid and placed, and everything... Look at the attacking rounds that they had on Clubhouse. How many of them were in the final 15 seconds, 20 seconds, that they're looking at trying to get the plant in and get themselves on towards the site? Compare it here, where they've got about a minute to work with. It is a huge difference of approach. They're not sweating. They are cruising, and FaZe, they're just trying to find a route round, but at the minute, not quite getting a connection to them on a map that is a good FaZe map.
4-1 start for Ambi inside of the opening 3 rounds. What's been, really disappointing for FaZe. I tried to touch on it in that round, but Shopify just said, no, we're going to finish it quickly. But it was 13-7 for Handy, 3-0 on entry. One of the standouts, 133 EPS on Clubhouse. And then we come into Nighthaven Labs, and he's put up 0-3 for a 16 EPS, 0-2 on entry. That's the most concerning thing as well. So one of the star players for FaZe really struggling but they are all really struggling. It's hard to really just kind of point out to Handy because you've got 4 players, Emmy. 4 players that are 0 and 3. They played 3 rounds of Siege, and KDS is the only one that's got kills. As Cyber, 2, loses his life. Ambi's putting on a clinic. He was sensational on Club, and he started amazingly on Labs. It's a 5-4 start here into the 4th round.
They're in and they're out. They're just Batman and Robin. Batman pulled themselves out and knocked them out of the building. Now they don't have that vertical control. I talked about it before we were here, how that power position that plays, because it creates all this danger, this awareness that there's only really one place to plant if they have vertical control that is safe.
Ambi is on like a 145 EPS through both maps. That is an insane number and an insane series that he is having against one of the top teams in the world. But he wants more than just, say, an honorable loss, and that's what Clubhouse really was, a bit of an honorable loss.
And then you look
they want the win.
Look at the left of the screen. Look at KDS, the only person who's been able to get any kills from the side. 3-3. They're keeping things in perfectly in pace. Sure, great. You want to try and get yourself a couple more. They have the pressure here. They're just going to pop open the Goyo canister as Connector and Electric starts to become a little bit more of a danger point. There gets Surf, 1 more for his tally, and Vidaking does find 1 back. The second player on FaZe to actually find a kill in the 4th round. But 30 seconds. Look on the distance of the screen. Grixer, he's rotating his way around on towards blue. He's going to try and sneak in the back door as they smash their way towards the mirror window. Ambi tears it and they just hop their way in. What are you doing? The tornado that blows through the site itself solves a sliver, but not for very long. 4 in a row.
Can we give FaZe another timeout? I feel like they need another one. Like, I almost feel bad. They are getting trounced here on Labs.
It's brilliant Siege from the side of Shopify
Their defense is
Rebellion.
just getting picked apart far too comfortably for my liking. I mean, this is very, very good Siege from Shopify. And it goes back to Clubhouse, where I felt like for a large portion of that game, Emmy, they were playing good Siege.
Oh, yeah.
But they just weren't always quite playing amazing Siege and getting over the hurdle of FaZe, who were playing far and away better on Club than they are here on Labs, right? So it's that 5-10% difference. Like, FaZe are now playing like a solid 10-15% worse here on Labs than what they were on Clubhouse, whereas Shopify is still at that same level. So now they're getting this result. The scoreboard is reflecting the dominance that we are seeing from Shopify on the attack. They're changing their pace. At times, they can push in, get a quick kill, push out. They can get map control. They can hit the site directly. They can play the lurk game. So they're winning in all facets, and that's why we're seeing a 4-0 start. FaZe just aren't even capable of really getting kills. 0-4, 1-4, 0-4, 1-4. They got 5 players that are all on a negative KD through 4 rounds of Siege for a team of FaZe's caliber. That is quite startling. But on the flip side for Shopify, it's their young gunners, it's their young up-and-comers, Surf, Ambi, who are just playing amazing. Canadian hasn't even got a kill.
Canadian doesn't need
He doesn't need a kill. And that is the emphasis on Shopify, is that Canadian can kind of do his thing. He can make calls. The others can just go out and frag. And so far for Shopify, if they lose this map, I don't even know how they can from here. They would, like, I would be bamboozled. They must finish this map off and send us to bank.
I mean, it is just
that has to be their job from here.
Huge here from the side. And Grixer as well, who had a massive performance on the first map as well. They're sort of getting themselves in. FaZe, they need to try and find a new inroad. And here is going to be the approach tower. Where are you? There it is. They heard a bit of shuffling.
They haven't had a single opening kill so far through the 4 rounds phase on defense Labs. You know, I think that's why they're going for this send out. And they read him like a book. And that's exactly what I was saying, is the fact that they have not had an opening kill. So they're feeling like maybe that's an area that we can improve on. I'm going to get aggressive. I'm going to try and find that pick. And we're going to try and at least get a 5v4 advantage, then fall back, play site. So you go for the run out from Electrical. Cyber, though, he gets caught into the trap set by Ambi and Co. Whoop. But over towards Blue, it's a 1-for-1. And now it's still evened up. 3v3. That opening kill for Shopify has been nullified.
Vidaking, he's able to find 1 more, 2 rounds in a row, and suddenly, for the first time in what feels like a while, we have a round. We have a back and forth. We have a 3 versus 3 with a minute 20. Now, FaZe, they didn't entirely hand over the territory. They kept themselves a little bit stoic, a little bit aggressive, and they were able to play a trade game for what also feels like one of the first times. It almost seems like that's what's been missing. The importance of having a second player to react to what the first does. We saw them lose the shield, the drop of the Blackbeard there from the side of Canadian. The IGL can only sort of call shots now from the cams, but with Rexon calling all of them from the heavens above, Souls is drifting up and away from it.
Well, they're not even playing sight because there was still over a minute left, so FaZe felt like they had to continue to keep pressure on that first floor, so Shopify would have to clear them out, for example. Otherwise, if they all just had gone back towards basement, then they would have had too much time for Shopify. So they contested. Why did they do that? Because of the time factor. But then by contesting, guess what? Then you lose a player. Now, was this a misthrown onto KDS? I think the answer to that might be a resounding yes. Ambi will lose his life, becomes a 2v2. Vidiking makes his way back up cargo. KDS low on health, losing his life to Rexon, and all down to Vidiking in a 1v2.
Now, we have seen Vidiking win a 1 versus 2 before, but look at this. The rotate round on towards the back of the site. The focus, they're going for the plant on towards default. Do they know where he is?
Is it the corner? No,
is
in
the
the open.
answer. Is he going to pull off the second magic trick in a row? They've planted on a different box. The approach.
Oh, no.
Rexon, you've got to pop your way around potentially. No, he's sticking it. No, he's caught Vidiking. This is a player who earns their place. He has been a lifeline here for FaZe, and they can finally.
What is that
alongside
original plant spot in the open corner?
A default.
Yeah, I
If
know, but
you-
in this instance, you can plant behind cover in a 2v1. You don't have to rush it. The default's fine if you've got numbers up, you've got more control, but you're just far too out in the open in that position.
They believe.
I mean, they obviously had no idea where Vidiking was.
They think he was an EXO. Because the two players went, we saw this first engagement, the one player Tux, they don't know that Vidiking is currently playing around here and locks in this position. It's a mistake. Maybe the first mistake we've seen at least punished 100%.
I think that the biggest credit there goes to Vidiking is to how he kept himself just so unknown in terms of his position because he had the discipline towards cargo stairs. ADS lost his life, and a lot of other players in that position would have then swung out. Try and get the trade or, you know, kind of keep the fight over there. But he just holds his position because it's like, well, they don't know I'm here. So they've killed a player cargo. Ultimately, then they think cargo side is clear. Go for the default plant. Swings out, easy kill. Why? Because it's, well, an open spot from that cargo position, even if it's default into other measures. But it's hard. It's really difficult. Well played for Vidiking.
I mean,
above all.
Again,
less to do with Shopify there. But yeah, the rest of the round says it should have been 5-0.
Oh, yeah. But this is the thing, right? You can never count out world-class players. You can never count out anyone in a game.
That's his second clutch of the series.
Exactly. One in a game where one headshot is the difference between any gunfight. It doesn't matter what your health is. A lot of players turn off the health indicator because it shouldn't change their mental attitude of how they approach engagements and how they sort of move in. You can just always have a possibility of succeeding. And that is something that is a big brain moment, is a bit of movement, and Vidiking displays that.
Yeah, and for Shopify, this is where you can't get too down and out. You've lost a round in a clutch scenario for FaZe. So it's not as if you just suddenly got, you know, aced. You didn't get flawless. You didn't have a round that you got completely dominated. It just happened to be a bit of a clutch moment from Vidiking. It then indicates that you did a lot right.
Yep. Now, with the clash on the board, holding on and trying to stop what is usually a very clean approach, can Vidiking be that problem child that gets in the way, causes a bit of an electrified tantrum, and slows down every bit of frustrating step? That is Shopify's attempt here. The Bandit will at least catch one half of that, but now as the pressure came instantly on towards IT, they're trying to swing onto rafters. The red dot will give the side away that they're watching, but you kind of knew that anyway. That throw out won't really catch anything, and they've got to hop their way right back out because the clash was just zapping and stunning.
And the clash has slowed down the pace of Shopify. They've really tried to be fast and aggressive in a lot of these rounds in the first half, and it's been working, but the clash is just stalling them out. And the biggest thing when you're playing Clash on command and server is you've got a lot of different areas you kind of want to be. You kind of want to go towards rafters. You want to go electrical. You can even go blue. You can only be in one spot at a time. So it comes down to Shopify. They need to push and be aggressive where the Clash is not.
Well, this is where the clash is going to be drawn towards Canadian. He's on the Blackbeard, making as much noise as possible, trying to force them out towards IT, which is in a position they can take. Smashes the mirror window, drops the eye in 50 seconds with a body advantage. They might be able to start trying to make things work, but Surf, he is the sort of response to the bait. They want the Clash to swing a little bit wide, but they're not quite on the hook yet. You're still trying to find the fight. There's the hop over the top, but they were more than ready for it. Cyber finally finds his first bit of blood in this showdown so far. 30 seconds. You can see KDS is trying to eye up the same engagement, but he tucks himself a little bit further around because he doesn't want to give them the free, easy fight in the body. Two are here, and the Blackbeard is going to be the lead on through. It was almost a moment, but he's caught on the side. There's the pick back up. Will a player go for the drop? The flash electrocutes, but over the shoulder. The shimmy and the shake, and they're rocked right out of place. 10 seconds, though. At this point, they've got to try and find their way through, but Cyber quickly dips back round. You're charging at somebody that is currently stunned. You've got to try and get the knockdown. They're looking for the second fight with a shield.
Oh my God.
It's back and forth, but not quite. FaZe, hold on. It was a valiant attempt at the end there, but 2 rounds, and, you know, again, have they earned them? They probably wouldn't think so, but they have them. What will they build on top?
I mean, yeah, just take a moment to breathe and just kind of dissect a little bit as to what happened there at the end. I mean, Ambi has done just about as best as he can. He hits a couple of pistol shots there, and who knows, could have been very different. I thought the start was ultimately better from FaZe because of that clash. Really stalled out Shopify and really kind of set the pacing of the round. This is some really good kills from Grixer, especially that second kill compared to the first one. But Cyber was the biggest factor in the round because you got the clash on the board. How aggressive can the clash really get? Well, more so blocking position than actually getting kills. You need someone to get the kills, and Cyber goes and does that. If Cyber loses his life towards Rafters, then that clash is going to get pinched, and Shopify will have the numbers, and they probably then win the round. So credit to Cyber, especially after a very poor start. For he and a lot of his teammates, they're starting to get things going again. But is it going to be a question of too little too late? Otherwise, it has to be a very attacker-sided Nighthaven Labs, and I'm just not anticipating that really at all. Shopify now go defense, 4-2 up after the 4-0 start. I don't know what you put a pin on, but hopefully it's not something that's related to the 0-3 start.
Actually, I can say it now.
Oh, you can say it now.
Yeah, it looked like it was going to be a 7. Like, it could have been a 7-0.
7-0?
No, but remember, that happened at the last showdown. But I didn't want to say it because I didn't want to doom it.
Well, lucky
right?
you put the pin on it, because, yeah, I don't think that was ever likely.
The pin was wrong. Everybody who mind putting a pin in something at home, throw it away. Get it out of there.
No, I think that this is still a game that Shopify need to be careful. They need to really stay focused and locked in. Defense, Nighthaven Labs will allow you to do that. You just cannot make mistakes because FaZe are more than capable of reflecting basically what we saw from Shopify and being just as good on the attack.
Exactly. That is the thing that we talked about before. The capabilities of world-class players. Both these rosters have those. In fact, pretty much every roster here is one that you would argue. There's the player, the Bandit, is going to catch the calls and the tracks and absolutely everything to try and stop the Bandit, but it's actually a step too late. Now, they might try and apply some pressure up from underneath. Handy's holding out the angle. They'll delay the approach. They won't entirely stop it. There's always more utility to try and find your way through. Doesn't quite get the fight that they want, but you do look at the limitations now in terms of the hard breach that they have in the pockets themselves. Obviously, Souls is the single sort of breach. They've sort of maybe realized that here from the side of Shopify. They lock Rafters. They lock the other side of it. Now they're just sort of saying, look, you've got IT. You get one other thing. What's your choice?
90 seconds. Slow-paced from FaZe. That probably benefits Shopify. The setup that they've got as well, 3 gas babes, you've got nitro cells, you've got vocal canisters that still need to be dealt with. Like the meeting push for Vidiking on the Blackbeard, and the opening kill goes the way of KDS. They shut down Canadian, who hasn't really got into this game in terms of the fragging department. 0-4, while the rest of his team has been fragging out, Canadian has been left behind.
Not really what Canadian does.
No, but you do want to probably not have a donut.
No, obviously not. But, you know, you want everyone to be able to step in and fight. And, you know, but he's also one of the most experienced players. The only player that has 2 hammers, which I guess if you're unaware that our trophy is a hammer, doesn't sound very exciting or impressive. But trust me, it is. They have themselves the long reach. They've made the choice on the next wall that they want to get open. And from here, they at least have a catch on the player line down with a shotgun. There's the take, the approach on towards Rexon, who's doing his best to hold on to this power position, and we get some support that comes through from the other side, and actually he's just going to get out of there. He's going to see if he can try and take an option on towards IT. He's being slowly surrounded, the cover of the smoke, and that gifts him A fight
Didn't
almost
kill him.
against the Blackbeard, though, because anybody else, but look at Vidaking's health. One breath of the smoke canister, he's gone. KDS tears with the Deimos pistol. Souls gets one of his own. There's a bit of an attempt round, but the timer here right now, Xenox. It's a 4 versus 1. Vidaking, he's going to see if he can try and get this secured. They know exactly where he's going, though, and they'll get that plant locked in on the opposite side. Now being tracked, he does at least get himself a frag, but is it just one of those sort of impactless exit ones? It's a very narrow line to try and drive yourself on. Compliments for FaZe there. They took that single breach, the pressure on towards Rafters. They made it work. But at this point, you know, will it be again the start of a build?
Yeah, I mean, that was the round in which Shopify just really didn't want to get too aggressive. They didn't want to get into the face of FaZe. They're just sitting back, playing sight, basically saying to FaZe, we'll give you IT, we'll give you Rafters, we'll give you Electrical. And you're just giving them too much, because then when it comes time to actually hit the site, FaZe now have multiple avenues to actually attack from. You know, there was pressure from basically all 3 of those. I didn't quite get to see blue side either, but it seemed like it was rather available. Because Shopify are basically sitting back and saying, well, we've got the smoke, we've got the Vulcan canister, we've got all of this kind of utility that's set up to help us defend the site. We don't need to get aggressive. We can kind of just sit back. Do that, FaZe then get control. I would have liked to have seen a bit more pressure from Shopify on the defense over towards IT, over towards Rafters. Try and keep FaZe at bay. Even if it means you have to take a couple of fights in the middle portion of the round, that's okay. You can even lose 1 or 2 players as long as you get 1 or 2 back. That's fine. But for FaZe, they were able to execute very nicely into sight all at once, all at one go. We think back to Clubhouse where they failed to do so in a similar fashion. They rectify it here in that previous round. And so far, this is turning out to be a rather attacker-sided Nighthaven Labs. 3-4. And it also means it's 3 rounds in a row for FaZe. And I'm starting to get a sense of deja vu from Clubhouse. And that's not good if you're a North American fan.
If we somehow end up on the 3rd map, do you think it will be 5 rounds in a row and then 5 rounds in a row? Like, it just keeps going and going. Best of 5 series until we get another 7-0. No, you're entirely right here. FaZe, they're reclaiming their position as that sort of threat here. And Shopify, they've just got to make sure that they sort of stay ahead of the pace and ahead of the curve. There's always the chance. The IQ, the Hunt gets rid of the Echo drone, is looking for any of the sort of tells here of the intel. And that's going to make Rexon's job much scarier, because he's about to find Cyber from the top ropes here. He's just missed it. There it is, the sort of pickup on the back end. Great play from the IQ. They sort of gave themselves a sneaky route in. Cut Rexon's head off.
Well, the game started, funnily enough, with 6 opening kills in a row for Shopify Rebellion. Since then, now we're seeing 2 in a row for FaZe. So again, we're seeing the switch-ups here, aren't we? And it's very akin to Clubhouse, and that's the alarming factor if you are Shopify and if you are Super. It's like, oh no, it's happening again. Very, very quickly, it's happening again. And this is going to be a very disappointing result for Shopify if they can't close out, because you're on defense, Labs, after a very significant start on the attacking side where they look unstoppable, playing some of their best Siege. Ambi going nuts, Surf going nuts, all of these things going well for them. And suddenly, once again, FaZe just find a way to get a grasp on the game, figure out things that are working for them and aren't working for them, and adjust. They adapted quickly on Clubhouse, maybe not as quickly here on Labs, but adjusting nevertheless.
Now, with the first body gone, there is still the question of time here, and it is a big site. You've got 2 general sort of major staircases to get your approach. There's not a direct angle on towards the site itself, but there's patches that are only a sort of skip and a jump away, and the angles that have been opened up above. The pressure that the ramp can introduce is that danger point. Here it is. Throw on towards the Exo side, and they're actually going to drift in towards the engagement. Canadian gets 1, but gets traded out by Hand. He didn't expect 2 players, but he might expect another fight that follows through. It's actually the watch that goes against them. Vidaking perfectly predicted the motion of the player there. Not sure if they had intel, but the read was good. The cover of the sensible, the light gadget, get themselves a bit of a route in. Surf is suffering, battered. It's an aggressive fight here on the door that is an important one to win out. The Surf does actually go down. Now, will they try and stop the plant, or will they go for the pickup of the player? The risk! The C4, I mean, it could have been huge, but at that point, you know, again, it's these tough moment decisions. Surely. You're the timeout king.
Look, I've done it again.
You've done it again. Everyone, congratulate.
Well, I think it's
congratulate Xenox.
It's 4 rounds lost in a row now, and the more alarming fact, it's not so much the 2 on what was your attack, so the defense for FaZe. It's now on your defense. You've not yet won a round. There's actually the similarities if you go all the way back to the start of the game, Emmy, whereas the 2 defensive rounds to begin lost for FaZe, and they took the timeout. Well, to start the second half, the same has now happened for Shopify. They've given up 2 attacking rounds to begin. So very, very concerning that if you are Shopify, you haven't been able to pick up any defensive round yet. Only 2 opportunities, but still, regardless, not the start that you wanted after a 4-0 start, 4 attacking rounds to begin on Labs. They've really let their lead completely evaporate. It's now 4-4, and I'm baffled. They looked amazing.
They did. But it's, Siege is a game. It's Boston. Siege is a game of 2 halves. I always see it.
It is a game of 2 halves, and sometimes overtime.
And sometimes a third half. Siege is a game of 2 halves. But this is the sort of read-through. It doesn't really matter how many statistics you have backing up whether a map leans itself towards attack or defense, whether a team leans itself towards attack or defense. Sometimes it is just how 2 teams hit. It is a mad science that you do in competitive Siege, especially because it is a thinking man's game. And you're trying to weigh up all your options, you're counter-stratting and stratting and building these ideas, and sometimes it will just hit a map in a certain way against a certain team. This is how these 2 teams are coming together, and you have to react to it.
I think, if you ever want to take a positive from one of life's more difficult moments for FaZe when they lost the SI Grand Final map 5 after 6-1 up.
Maybe the most difficult Siege moment
is that they will now know for the rest of their lives we can always come back.
Yeah.
We're always in this game, whether it's a 4-0 start for Shopify or a 3-0 start or even 6-1. We can do it because we know it can be done. We've seen it firsthand. And so they've started slow on both maps for those maybe just tuning in, but Shopify started 3-0 on Club, ultimately lost. They've started 4-0 on Labs, ultimately now it's 4-4. And so that's the concerning factor if you are FaZe. It's like, well, slow start, but we got there. What if this was BDS on the other side? What if they were playing BDS and gave them an 0-3 and 0-4 start? Don't know if you then have enough time to get back in. Rexon with a big opening kill on to Souls, though. Shopify out of their tactical timeout. That is exactly what they wanted. Gets rid of the ace. Still another hard breach available with the thermite, but only 1 exothermic.
So I think, that was up through the floor, out of the opening of the breach that was made, and it was able to take care of the ace. Again, a lovely bit of sort of vertical interplay there to sort of keep yourself safe, play a well-practiced lineup, and you're able to net a reward. They still have hard breach. Handy has now utilized all of that. I said it was a risk before, and they made it work. This time, they've got the same limitations, and, it ended up all FaZe colors over the site last time in a 4 versus 1, but it still slowed them down a lot compared to the previous round. Here, they might suffer the same things. It is a little bit more a touch-and-go site that Shopify could have gone anywhere. They've opted to try and hit their tertiary. The break comes all the way through, cuts their way right across. There's one. The second is going to be picked up by the Deimos, and FaZe just absolutely clear their way through into the site and say, this thing that you got, oh no, it's ours now. This is FaZe's territory.
Well, they just hit the go button, and they've done that so well outside of the first time we saw it on Clubhouse where they were a little bit out of sync. Just that ability to say, we want to do this, and we're going to execute in this manner, and we're all going to do it at the same time. FaZe are the kings of that, and that's why I was very much surprised more so back on Club where they actually failed to do it properly for their level. But they've shown it now twice on Labs that they've just got, what was it, like a minute 10 on the clock, and they're like, bam, we're going to hit storage, and we're going to all do it from these different angles. They didn't necessarily have the kind of control into IT that you really want. And KDS's ability to also just pull out the Vendetta, easy headshot, good night, Canadian. And in the end, then, they were able to get that IT control, close out. So they had top floor, they had storage, they had the site, and they now have the lead. 5 rounds in a row. Shopify on the ropes. They've already taken their timeout.
I have a little bit of a question as to what was going on in the rotate between the sites. 2 players in a single crouch rotate isn't the perfect... it's not the perfect time, but you couldn't be more, caught in a bad possible moment when you've got 2 players trying to play a single firefight on a crouch rotate between sites itself. The second double kill as well was, again, You know, if you're in a situation where you're trying to get the trade on an angle, it's great. But the toughest one is when the player you're going up against doesn't have to let go of left click and just slightly move the sort of aim over.
And they got an opening kill that as well, and a very important one by dealing with the A's with the nitrocell through the floorboards. I thought that was a really, really well-worked opening kill for Shopify.
But look at the response. FaZe just went, okay, let's just run into site. Let's just go in towards, you know, the big sort of warehouse area. We have a route through. There wasn't anyone that was watching it. There wasn't anyone that was on rafters because of the slight breach.
Oh, Ambi, that's a big kill on to Cyber. Rexon also to find one, then two in quick succession, and Shopify flip their own switch and suddenly have been able to find 3 kills in less than a minute.
What happened? I mean, let's be honest. That was
Shopify just went bang.
It was almost 4 kills in the opening sort of minute there. We've not seen a pace like that at all from either of these two teams.
Well, it was more so set by FaZe in a lot of those little pushes. But yeah, I mean, this round is basically just done. It's forfeited already. FaZe, I think, just tried to go quick and get some of the key power positions quickly. Rafters there on the entry from Cyber shut down. Ambi playing a good spot. He gets a wonderfully well-reflexed kill. And from there, Rexon, we didn't quite get to see his POV, but he just finds 2 very quickly at the same moment in time, indicating to me that FaZe wanted to just go for a surprise hit. They wanted to try and put an end to this as soon as possible. It doesn't work. Credit to Shopify. They were ready for that pace from FaZe. They dealt with it seamlessly. This round, for all intents and purposes, is pretty much over. Soul's effectively on 1 HP. And Canadian will get himself the easiest kill of this series.
I mean, at that point, you know, when you're just limited to 2 players, your Ash has 1 HP. Again, it's a 1 headshot game, but they also still have all of their hold up. Flawless. And, I mean, it's actually kind of eerie, the parallels between this map and the last. Last map, it was 3 rounds, then FaZe got 4, then it went traded all the way to the end. This time, 4 rounds,
then
FaZe got 5,
and now
it's trading potentially all the way into the end. What we need to see now from the side of Shopify Rebellion, if you are supporting them, is to buck that curse, break that trend, and get yourself a 2nd round tied in a row. Put yourself on towards map point and at least guarantee yourself that 3rd half of overtime, which is only 3 rounds, not really a full half. But at this point, FaZe, I mean, all the FaZe fans want them to do is do what they did before. Step themselves back in, reevaluate the pace. You're rotating around here, and remember the fact that now, if Shopify lock down this site, they have to go back to storage, or obviously they could try and take kitchen if they wanted. But at this point, you know, you're sort of eyeing this one up. If FaZe are able to win this out, what do you do there from the side of Shopify? Do you try and risk it on the next site? Do you go to your tertiary, or do you try and double down for the first time?
I think their focus just needs to be on this 11th round right now. Lock in at least overtime as a minimum. At this very point of Clubhouse, this was, of course, the unfaithful round for Canadian, where juggling the diffuser inside of CCTV ultimately led to their demise. It was then a 7-5 win for FaZe. 5-5 once again for the 2nd map. The big takeaway, though, for me in terms of the overarching storyline of this match,
sorry, I love it when mixed throw,
is Shopify have been very competitive against a very good FaZe clan.
Oh, yeah. This has been a great... And this is the thing about Shopify.
Oh, that's a freebie, though.
Oops, there's the trade.
Standing still.
Very important pick back up there to make sure Cyber just can't start screaming his way through. But at this point, the same way we commented about how FaZe need to approach this, or how they did, you pull yourself back. You are wasting time on the top floor. You're making them have to check and recheck, so they only have 30 seconds when they approach the site itself, and they've been able to get themselves back towards the site. Now,
I think losing Cyber here is worse for FaZe than it is.
Oh,
Ambi's done his job. You're losing the buck. You're losing the skeleton key. The ability to open up floorboards.
They do still have at least 2 boogie drones ready to try and throw through, but obviously those are much more directional with what they can try and take out. And what you're looking at is isolating the plant spot, the corner that they had last time round, where they went for the Hail Mary C4. Now Canadian has snuck himself right underneath the player above. You might not entirely know. You can get a great 2-story watch, but if he can strike here, it could be huge. He is technically deep behind enemy territory, and which route he picks is the most important. There's 2 players this way.
Oh my
There's
goodness.
one. Does he know about the second?
Oh, he didn't.
Oh, he doesn't need to, but he's able to somehow escape the play behind it. The wall behind him is solid. And what a sneaky little moment, but again, more attention. Now, Canadian is stuck. There is no way out, but this ready C4 is if they drop, they'll blow it on the castle and take the player out on the other side. But at this point, FaZe, look at them. All 3 remaining players are laser focused on a single hatch drop. They're sending it.
Wait, does
they
he know?
haven't heard
Does he know?
He does know, and he gets it. Canadian swings around, another goo mine for the trouble. All right, send the next one here. Handy and Souls, what do you do? It's a 4 versus 2, less than 40 seconds. They now have a crossfire because the castle is gone as well. The smoke canister, I believe, pops off. They're going to drop in the back of it. Canadian takes a lot of damage swinging it. There's the motion, but there's the cover. They get 1 kill. Now they've got to try and get the rest with 20 seconds left. At this point, the diffuser's still at least close to them. The castle's going to slow them down a bit. They're having to deploy a hard breach charge. Precious time taken away and a bulletproof, giving the read on everything. The impact EMP just to stop it. Give themselves a second.
Nicely done.
Shopify! They're able to do it. Double down, 2 rounds in a row. 1 more separates us from a 3rd map.
I thought Surf was going to pick the right side from his angle of the tank, and if he had done that, I think he loses his life. Instead, then goes back left side, knows then that the other player for FaZe is looking to push into the site, gets the free kill because he's more worried about positioning and entry than he is actually for getting the kill. Overtime guaranteed for Shopify, and well deserved for them. For FaZe now on the ropes as they've got themselves a match point that they have to overcome, but Canadian talk about an old head that stands up in a very pivotal round. Back on Clubhouse, it was this very round that he stumbled, but now on Labs, he is a big reason why they've got this 6th round and overtime guaranteed at the very minimum. Now, with an opportunity to take this map. Bank, of course, waiting as the decider if Shopify can close things out.
You said it, the Canadian isn't always the player that gets a lot of kills and you want everybody to, but when he gets them, they matter. And what he has, and his long history always been celebrated for, is his ability to know where to go, know when to be, and know when to sort of take these chances and have the conversations. They have rotated on towards the 3rd site. They are not going towards kitchen. You know, fair enough, to be honest. It's a very awkward hold onto it. You've got a lot of soft to play above. There's a very narrow possibility of playing inside. Here, you at least get the extension above. You can almost set up what is your command center hold, and then just keep some vertical lines of sight down below. Now, last time there was 2 instances of 2 Shopify Rebellion players getting stuck in a single situation and both of them losing their life, even with the man advantage. You assume there's going to be a much more keen eye made towards the approach here of FaZe, so they don't just slip their way through. The mirror, getting the read, Surf sort of saying what's going on here. Now they have the play. There's the broach, there's the breach. Is that too late? The half of it will be tricked, but the other will get popped open. Now, how stuck is he?
Well, the previous round as well was the first time in Labs where FaZe have got the opening kill, but were unable to convert the round. So that was a first. That was a good little overcome as well for Shopify.
It's an awkward breach. It doesn't quite get the mirror window. They can't pass through it currently. They've got to try and get rid of that mirror window, get it popped, or get it a little bit wider. Now, it does still create this angle of pressure that caused them some trouble and some drama before, but again, it's the cost of this hard breach to play against it. There is the entrance that they made last time. That was their single sort of route through. It'll get itself popped open. It'll be a hop through. Not always slow them. In fact, no, that's not a route through either. The impact trick from the top ropes stops it as only another angle. It gets re-electrified. It's the weirdest statement to make, but the only thing they can walk in through right now is the doors.
Sometimes the door and the front door might just be the best option. It shouldn't be. Shopify have been able to do a very good job in the early portion of this round, but it's Cyber who gets the opening kill onto Surf. Salts has made his way in towards Cargo as well. I mean, there's still a minute remaining, so despite everything done by Shopify, FaZe have got themselves at least into a position where they can still make something work. Bit over towards Control, over towards Cargo, so they're starting to get players facilitating into the building, despite the advantage that Shopify have in keeping the vast majority out. They are starting to find and weasel their way in.
This is it. This side is paper thin at points compared to the others. You're only really a couple of steps away, and you can see that divide perfectly illustrated. But It's a risky fight you want to take, but you win it out. Rexon instantly pivots the 180 down towards the bottom, but the plant is attempting to be secured. They're missing the shots in the smoke. FaZe, full faith in the cover, and the man's reloading. The man can't get it, but Ambi does. Souls gets it, but it's a post-plant situation, so Cyber sneaks his way in with Ambi getting Vidaking. It just takes one moment, one player, one drop, and there's some of the vertical, and now they've got the overwatch on towards the kid itself. They're not going to be able to defuse it without getting this player out, and the blue pinch on the other side, it's surrounded. Canadian gets Cyber. There's the rotate round. There's the play back on. There it is. Shopify Rebellion secure it, hold the key and get it locked in, and we are going to a map 3.
A Canadian at the end holds over towards blue, and if he doesn't, and if he got sucked into the contest down below, they would have had, and they being FaZe, that top vert hold, watching that kit. He stays behind, he gets a big kill onto Cyber, they win the round. Canadian, very, very, very slow start, very slow. But then in the last 2 rounds, when the game was on the line, he makes some clutch plays. Shopify Rebellion get a map off of FaZe Clan, 7-5 on Nighthaven Labs. We have to go to Bank.
The last time these two teams were on Bank, well, Shopify did not get a single round. Will that be the tale again? We'll have to find out after a quick break. Do not go anywhere.
Keep an eye out for contact.
Available now.
Segura aí. Podem começar a conversar agora entre vocês, trocando ideia.
Na moral, o Uruguai vacilou. Cara, mesmo que vai perder o envio no Brasil. Que isso, cara?
Que isso, moleque?
Caralho, viado. De onde você veio? Caralho, filho da puta, mano.
Não acredito, velho. E aí, mano? Como é que você tá, cara? Boa, tranquilo.
Caralho, que isso?
Você achou mesmo que ia perder o envio no Brasil?
Caralho,
12 horas de fusão, pô.
Você
pegou?
Cheguei hoje.
Caralho, que da puta.
Meu nome é Vinícius Merletti, falo aqui de Floripa. Eu sou de São Paulo, né? Sou paulista, mas eu vim aqui para Floripa em 2019 para estudar. Eu passei aqui na UFSC, que é a Universidade Federal aqui de Floripa. Hoje eu tenho grandes amigos no Rainbow Six, que o JP eu já conhecia ele antes, né? A gente estudou juntos bastante tempo. E conheci também o Busta e o Tóquio. São grandes amigos meus que a gente fez dentro do jogo, E são amigos que hoje eu levo pra vida. Hoje eu abriria facilmente a porta deles da minha casa. São pessoas de um coração gigante que no momento que a gente tá jogando a gente se diverte muito. Então a gente se esquece às vezes do problema, algum problema do trabalho que possa ter ocorrido. E no momento que a gente tá no jogo a gente tá dando risada, tá focado em ganhar, às vezes dá um rage, mas faz parte.
Ó, do KM ligando. Olha aí, que vai comer, cara, vai comer. Ó, rapel varanda fora. Tomei. Puta caramba. Tomei, velho.
Então eu descobri que o Invi ia ser no Brasil, ali em São Paulo. A gente acabou comprando os ingressos, mas passou um tempo, foi passando os meses, e eu acabei encaixando uma viagem bem num dia. Eu prometi uma viagem pra minha namorada, falei pra eles que eu não ia mais. Eu tinha falado pra eles que não ia, eles ficaram super irritados porque a gente comprou bem quando lançou os ingressos. Tava um preço um preço excelente ali.
Aproveita muito, cara. Envie no Brasil, vai ter uma atmosfera única. Aproveita bastante lá. Não esquece de mandar muita foto. Você sabe que eu queria muito estar indo aí. E, pô, vacilei contigo. Mas vai ter mais outras oportunidades, tá? Aproveita muito por mim, tá? Falou, mano. É nóis, tamo junto.
Pô, ele acredita mesmo que eu não vou. Faltando poucos dias, decidi ir para São Paulo e ver essa experiência incrível. E ainda eu quero muito ver a cara deles quando eu for fazer essa surpresa. Acho que vai ser maravilhoso, eles vão ficar muito emocionados, assim, vai ser um encontro épico. Presencial Invitational com as pessoas que eu sempre joguei, passei horas do meu tempo jogando, me dedicando ao jogo ali, nos divertindo. E estar com eles lá, viver esse momento vai ser muito maravilhoso.
Olhando pra mim, tá? Segura aí. Podem começar a conversar agora entre vocês, trocando ideia.
Na moral, o Uruguai vacilou.
Acharam mesmo que eu ia perder um dia no Brasil?
Que isso, cara? Que isso, moleque? Caralho, viado. De onde você veio? Isso, mano. Caralho, filho da puta, mano.
Não acredito, velho. E aí, mano? Como é que você tá, cara? Boa, tranquilo.
Caralho, como que é isso?
Você achou mesmo que ia perder um dia no Brasil?
Caralho,
12 horas de busão, pô.
viado.
Você pegou?
Cheguei hoje.
Caralho, que da caralho, mano. Nós é o caminho inteiro falando, mano. Não acredito que o Uruguai vai perder essa porra, mano.
Não, a gente combinou agora de falar isso. A gente já tinha decidido de vir há muito tempo. Desde que lançou, ele mandou mensagem e falou, ó, compra agora. Aí compramos, beleza. Aí ele mandou e falou assim, pô, mano, não vai dar, vou viajar e tal. Eu falei, pô, você vai perder isso aqui, mano. Não sei nem como vai ser a próxima oportunidade que vai ter.
Vim de Floripa, 12 horas de busão. E foi isso, tamo aqui.
Que pilantra, mano.
It's Vexus Pro versus W7 F.
I love the jazz. Hello and welcome back here as we find ourselves still within the same series. For the first time, you and I are getting a 3-mapper.
Yeah.
We're getting revenge.
Yeah.
We're going back to
Yeah, I think as if we've done like 10 games. It's like
we have. We've
the
done
first
this
time. It's day one. But hey, I mean, I'm happy that this is the series that we get to go to 3 maps because you got 2 top teams. And I think that for Shopify Rebellion, they would have been kicking themselves of the missed opportunity that they had on Clubhouse.
100%.
5-5, probably had a really good chance to go 6-5 up, while they were at least able to convert here on my Haven Labs. Fantastic start, going and bringing it all the way back. 4-0 to begin on Labs. 4 attacking rounds at that. They were clinical, they were making little to no mistakes. Ambi was popping off, Surf was popping off. Everything that could go right went right. And then FaZe did FaZe things and go and win 5 rounds in a row to make it 5-4, and you start to think for Shopify Rebellion, it's going to happen again as it did on Clubhouse. But to their credit, they learned from their lessons. Canadians stood up massively in the 11th and the 12th rounds respectively, and they go on and take it 7-5, even avoiding overtime.
I mean, you have to give credit to the team. They sort of set themselves back up. They knew the mission that they had to have, the conversations they needed. You see how much it means to them. Remember, Canadian, I think the only player that's played in every single SI up towards this point as well. Every single round, every single win still means the same. It means everything to him. That is a man who wants his 3rd hammer for his hammer collection.
Cannot have enough of those.
Can never have enough hammers.
I think for me, Shopify Rebellion, you know, going up against FaZe, it was always going to be a bit of a daunting task because of how good FaZe are. But FaZe are the kind of team that you probably could snatch a win early on in the tournament. FaZe get better as the tournament goes on until the very end, in which they, well, you know, kind of can't deal with that hurdle. For Shopify, I think that they've been really good on both maps, but Bank is going to be an ultimate test because of the previous result back in Montreal.
Yeah, and I think that's the sort of split, right? How do you go back to a map that you got 0-7 last time you played it? How do you go back to a place where you had one of your most crushing defeats on this sort of major stage throughout the year?
Yeah, that's the issue now. You've
show
been
what you've
great.
learned.
Labs won, Clubhouse close to winning, but now you go to a map that history says is going to be very, very difficult. But the good news for Shopify is this is not Montreal.
No.
And you can't play worse. Like, you can only have a better result than last time because it was a 7-0. And the way that they've been playing today, look, I don't see a 7-0 on the cards whatsoever. I'm not saying that they're necessarily going to win it, but I'd be very surprised if this ends up being a similar fashion to Montreal. I'm hoping and somewhat expecting it to be a similar fashion to our first 2 maps, where 7-5 territory, either way.
I want to brawl. Because this is the... So when the schedule sort of came together, you and I ended up casting this game. It had that little golden sort of line around it of this could be the best game of the day. This could be the best series of the day if these teams show up. Now, there's been moments of slipping, but there has still always been these moments where
I
you
think
go...
the quality's been very good in this series. I mean, it's very easy to nitpick certain aspects here or there and certain mistakes here or there, absolutely. And the series has had those. But the overall quality has been there. 7-5, 7-5, you don't get that unless both teams are playing either really bad or really good. And it's definitely been a far more likely case of really good siege from both of these two teams. Again, outside of little moments here or there. Like you look at Handy, sensational on Clubhouse, and then a little bit poor on Labs. Canadian, little slip up on Clubhouse, but then clutches up on Labs. So both teams have been quite similar in that regard, Emmy, where it's like, we've had a good moment here, but then a bad moment here. And that applies to both. Whereas for FaZe, usually their opponent will have more bad moments, and they just kind of capitalize, and they get a pretty easy win, 7-3, 7-3. Shopify Rebellion have had really, really good moments. Ambi has been absolutely incredible. Surf has been also right alongside him. Grixer and Rexon have both stood up in some clutch moments, and Canadian, yeah, maybe some poor moments here, but largely to close out on Labs was great. Whereas for FaZe, you know, how often have we seen some of their members? It feels like if Handy is poor, the team does slip a little bit. He was great on Clubhouse, and then at one point he's like 0-3 on entries on Labs. They start to go a little bit poor. What was it, 4 players? It was KDS was the only player that had a kill through 4 rounds of Siege. Like, you had 4 players that just couldn't even get a single kill.
Yeah.
For 4 rounds. That was the start for FaZe. At the very least, if the ship's going to go down, they go down together.
I mean, that's the only way you can really sort of get yourself sorted. Now, obviously, as we sort of said before, this is a bit of a step back up in towards territory that they've played and beat heads on once before. It didn't go well. And there is the negative. But there's also the massive positive here. Because what we talked about before with Shopify Rebellion is they're a team that knows their prep game. They know how to approach themselves back into a game.
They would have done their homework.
Oh, so much so. Otherwise, this map, if they hadn't have done all the homework to believe they could win it, we wouldn't be here. That is the rule of map banning.
Well, I said at the start of this series in terms of the pass mark, have Shopify Rebellion achieved that pass mark?
You're a strict teacher.
Not really.
A stringent educator.
I would go as far to say is they're very close to reaching it. I think the pass mark here for Shopify on the series is for this to be a contest. And for that to be a contest, it has to be 7-4 minimum. So that would be the pass mark that I set now for Shopify Rebellion. They don't have to win this map necessarily. Said that from the get-go.
You did.
And I did also say 1-1 from the get-go.
Monty's back on the board. Blackbeard instead is the shield that is gone at this point. Habana is the removal.
You don't need to ban the Monty on Bank. I personally don't think so. I like the Blackbeard ban overall. Blackbeard has been a very strong operator in this series, so I think that's a very strong ban on a map like Bank as well.
I got to run some numbers.
Oh, you got to run numbers. Are you an accountant?
This is the sound of me like rubbing my eyes and looking back up at that band and rubbing my eyes again and going, what? Azami is not banned by a Canadian-led team. For a long time, a Canadian-led team would ban 2 operators. They would ban Dogby and they would ban Azami pretty much 100% of the time. The Azami ban carried over here, and yeah, she's a powerful operator, but hey, she's free to play. And it's not always, but it is enough that it is funny to play itself around. Now, Bank. This was also a map where we saw a little bit of a, shake to some other NA teams before. Can Shopify Rebellion here sort of demonstrate what North America can bring to the Bank, what can be deposited. FaZe will be starting on their attack once again. Let's see if they can try and set themselves in for a decent pace here.
Well, we saw the predictions, Emmy. I mean, what's your prediction here? I haven't asked it of you.
A fun time.
You want a fun time? I want a result from you. I want a result.
You know who's going to win? The audience is going to win.
Well, the audience has already won, I think, with the first 2 maps.
It's so hard to gauge. I want to see an OT. I would like to get a full test of both these teams. And honestly, if we get there, either of the teams could win it. Who do I think is going to win it? It's so hard to call. And that's sort of a great compliment to both these two teams, really, when it's not that sort of cut and dry. Surf is on out of here. Himself a slightly safer position, further down white towards green, but he's probably not going to stick around too long. I also avoided your question because I honestly can't answer.
That's fine.
Usually I'm fine to throw these answers out. Maybe I've changed my time in Boston. The hatch will be open next to him, so he can drop away if he wants to. Ambi going to try and waste a little bit more time, but you pull back. You waste time. I hate that computer as well.
For Shopify, they're just playing a pretty much default lockers and CCTV where you kind of just fall back. You waste a little bit of time, but it's not really your main accomplishment. You've got a lot of delay to try and stop a bit of a default plant on the server side push for FaZe if they do opt to go in that direction. We've got other avenues though. Handy on the Nook. Now, will he eventually make his way over towards Garage? I think he may. He'll want to probably get a bit of a wriggle on though. There's a minute 20 on the clock, so the pacing does need to improve here from FaZe. Otherwise, Shopify looking in a better position right now. They need to just sit back, play sight. And the diffuse is actually over towards blue. I mean, this is... Well, I mean, honestly, looking like it's really well set up for Shopify. It's going to be a default server-side push from FaZe. The Bs go out.
I mean, they've got the track on the players. They've got the fire popping on the door.
They can't push
in. That's it. But right now, all they're doing is wasting all that utility. It's stacked and ripped and ready to go. Cyber's holding onto the split. They're going for the plant itself. They're going to see if they can try and stop it by spraying through. But the Echo drone is actually the difference maker right now. You can see the slow approach of the Nook is blinded out. Vidaking takes the drop on the top of Rexon now, and it makes things a little bit more possible for the plant. Canadian dips his toes in towards the fight on green. They pull themselves back in. They're going to attempt the plant once again, and now the pressure is stepped up right towards the door itself. They're not able to get it. It's a post-plant situation. 7 players still stood. The drop down on towards goal, but it's instantly traded out from the back of the garage on the far side. 36 seconds ticks away, but there's a player all the way on the top floor. Surf. He found himself new ground, new territory. He's going to try and retake and find the fights above, but the Canadian trying to dip himself inside the site as well. Look how little FaZe are giving them. They know the approach. They know the positions. He's going to hold for the long arm. He takes the drop. It was questioned before, but now there's the trade out.
Way.
Surf
No way.
Spins in a circle and sends them out of there. I mean, get loud, boys.
That is exactly what you want to kickstart the map of Bank, specifically Bank. After what happened last time between these two teams, FaZe had that, it seemed like, under lock and key. Once that plant goes down successfully, despite all of the denial opportunities from Shopify, the plant goes down. That then becomes a big win con for FaZe. It's a 3v2 as well in the post plant. Surf finds the double kill. But most importantly, the big reason why that was enabled to happen is Surf was very quick and he understood we need to get admin control. We need to make sure that the hat is going to be not in play from FaZe in the post plant so that Canadian can get on it and stick on it with the long arm of the law. Like you said, full well knowing he wasn't going to get shot through the hatch. Why? Because Surf just came through it, cleared it all out. He then turns his attention to protecting the more horizontal default positions. He finds the 2 kills. Enough time for Canadian, and that's the way that they win the round. Surf, sensational. Canadian, good composure.
I mean, you compare that to a round we highlighted composure in a 2 versus 1 with an attempt to stick a plant on the side of Canadian with a bit of cover once upon a time that did not go their favor. It's almost like an anime montage, and the growth has come together and everything goes slow-mo, and the old hand trusts the new young
Well, this is
gun.
the thing. In the moment on Clubhouse, that was the first real kind of incident. And since then, 2 clutches on Labs, big clutch as well, coupled, of course, with what Surf was able to do here on Bank. So it's like 4, if you were to put it as a block of 4, it's like, okay, 1 fumble, but for 3 touchdowns. Like, you know, like you're going to be focusing on the 3 touchdowns rather than the 1 fumble. So credit to Canadian Surf. They've been able to steal that round back from FaZe after they almost stole it with that plant. 1-0 start and a good start. And already better than last time, Emmy. It's already just better. Like it's around on the board on bank between these two teams.
The hardest round to win is the first round, and when that somehow,
and you could see what it meant to them.
But this is it. When it somehow transcends multiple months of the last time you played bank and you didn't get any, this is the first bank round they've won over 8. What a round! What a moment! And what a clutch! But we're instantly back.
Where's the response from FaZe now? Because that's what this series has been all about. You know, it's kind of the fast start from Shopify, the slow start from FaZe, and slow starts have been 0-3, then into 0-4. Is it going to be 0-5? Probably not. But they do need to make sure, for FaZe's sake, that they don't just allow Shopify to get this 3 or 4 round head start. They've got to be better in the earlier portions of the first half.
Now, they have at least some of the eyes and angles. There's nobody that's intent on throwing themselves out the window as of yet. Surf, the hero of the last time round, is the first to be removed. There's no, there's no real location for him to sort of do the dip down and tuck around that he played so masterfully before the blinds. Towards the side of Banana here at the top of the spiral stairs, but it's the control over White that doesn't actually go their way. There's some important cover. There's 2 kills that come through from the side of Shopify, but FaZe, they bleed their way in towards the site, and they have a single player behind them. KDS, he's going to stick it. He's going to trust that Handy has the lockdown. Where's the camera? It doesn't connect to the roof, but the smoke canister does get the kill. It's now a 1 versus 2, technically. And get through to getting the player back up. He's downed outside. How aware are they? The shotgun pellets are peppering and putting the pressure on. But Hamby, he wants to play against the kid itself. Handy, he's gone the long way round. He's going to see if he can get it. Are we going to see the second hold? Hold your nerve. Hold that round, Shopify. What am I seeing here, Xenos?
Oh, I mean, they're just holding on for dear life in the first 2 rounds. Quite a literal way to explain it. I mean, it's a really good little pivot at the end from Handy, but that's just the time. Give him, I would say, 2 more seconds, and he probably wins that round. But well played from Shopify Rebellion. FaZe trying to, speed things up a little bit, go for the quick hit. It worked back on Labs a couple of times and certainly worked a lot on Clubhouse. And you'll see the time here. 1, 2, like 2 more seconds and he probably gets that kill and stops the counter defuse. That's how close that round was. That's what that round means for Shopify, and so far what this series is meaning for them. A 2-0 start for the 3rd map in a row. They had a 3-0, a 4-0, and now a 2-0. They have been electric to begin on all 3 maps. But we know what eventually then comes, and it's that FaZe tsunami. It happens in all of the maps so far. So that's going to be the task for both of these 2 teams. One team is starting fast, the other one then gets the comeback bounce. So for Shopify, it's like if they get to 3 or 4 rounds, I mean, they're going to be like, let's talk things over. We know they're going to hit us back. How do we stop that from happening?
I kind of feel a lot of similarities to how we opened here on towards Club, where, FaZe were getting themselves in. They're a little bit disjointed compared to what they can do in that moment. They're obviously watching one position. They're going to try and stick the plant itself. They're trusting that there's nobody to stop it at that point. But, when it comes around to the retake in the situation, they have the man advantage. They're able to start to retake the space and then hold on to defusing the plant. The first round was just an insane clutch. That one was an opportunity that they obviously also clutched out, but at the same time, there was a little bit more wiggle room, a little bit more give that was gifted to them by FaZe, sort of seeing turned out to be a little bit of a false started opportunity here. 2 rounds, 2 plants, 2 diffuses. This will be the 3rd in a row, or will we start to see at least a second half before we get our first timeout? A little bit of a spray, a little bit of a control here. Always the most common seen sight.
The one good news for FaZe, though, is Handy's back. It's 4-1, and he's playing a lot better to begin in the opening 2 rounds of Bank than what we saw from Labs. There are some elements that are a little bit different. KDS, very, very low on health. Does have the diffuser in hand. Outside over towards Plaza on the rappel. Oh, and Vidaking just doesn't even know really where he's getting shot from, standing out in the hallway in the elevator, and Surf will get the opening pick. There's a second to follow from Rexon. 90 seconds left into the round. It's all kicking off. Big kill back from Souls needed that to at least keep some kind of momentum over towards FaZe. Otherwise, it was all one direction towards Shopify. 4v3 still with the player advantage, coupled as well, Emmy, with the fact that Souls and KDS are both incredibly low on health. This is looking like a 3rd round for Shopify.
I mean, it's an odd site to pick, but they've sort of made it work here. Tellers is the lowest preference of any of this. They've sort of bought themselves here. They've pushed FaZe into a bit of uncomfortable territory. And now, instead, FaZe are trying to piece things together. It's sort of played into the fact where it's felt a little bit disjointed, but they're seeing opportunities. And they're a great team to strike from. Their mid-round adaptations are fantastic from the side of FaZe. But, again, Shopify Rebellion, they have a bit of awareness. And where with all Grix? Where was all that? Just locked it down. KDS drifted. And, again, it's these little moments where it seems like they've got an idea, but there's just one little secret part of a plan that Shopify Rebellion are able to keep and hold on to. The Azami slips by a fight. They'll call that they've gone onto white, but they don't know if they've gone up or down. In fact, they've come right back round. They want the engagement. It's not theirs to take. Handy gets one. He said he's back. He's got to be more than back.
He needs his teammates. He needs his teammates. He's the only one doing anything on Bank so far. There will be a timeout after this, I imagine. As we've gone around the world, it'll be 3-0 for Shopify. FaZe will need to talk things over because it's another slow start. 3 maps in a row, and that's concerning. You know, 1 or 2 times and you can forgive it, but when it becomes a 3rd map in a row, that's a problem. You know, that is a decent sample size, and it becomes a trend. So for FaZe Clan now, it's 3 maps where they've just started so incredibly slow against Shopify Rebellion that I'm very much concerned that is something that could bleed into other games. This is a group of death. There's some really, really good teams when it comes to this particular group. Doesn't look like the timeout will be called, so I'm wrong for the first time in this series.
Everybody, tell the presses.
But I honestly shouldn't be wrong. I don't know why you're not calling a timeout here. They haven't already called it, have they?
No.
Am I just like old brain fart? They called it after 1 round?
No,
they should have called it.
I think it's the thing about this map, though, is, you know, you can sort of formulate your attacks and get it in. In fact, what I might try and find out is do we know who had the choice of half? Do you have that data to hand? Or is it something we can try and make?
I do not. I'm a play-by-play.
That's true. This is, well, usually I'm like, hap.
Actually, I can.
Well, Reddit thought you were a hap in one of the clips from earlier.
They did.
So I'm sorry about that.
Let me have a quick little look for you then, since you actually did bring it up.
So, because
Shopify got the side choice, which they chose defending first, evidently. FaZe in overtime will also have defending, so they got the overtime side choice.
Yeah. So it's one of those maps.
That would have been a coin flip, I imagine.
Oh, 100%. It's one of those maps where you could have a preference for attack. There have been teams that prefer to attack Bank because they're a creative attacking team because of the weird amalgamation of spaces of big, vast ones, and tiny little ones, and a great hatch synergy all the way from the top. You can hit the top of the map to the bottom within a second. You know, it's great for some teams to try and piece things together here. And okay, Shopify, they're playing their preferred half. Vidaking.
Where's that come from?
Narnia.
He's just sniped him. Yeah, that's unfortunate if you serve. That's almost a bit of a tilter.
Yeah. Well, the first kill is theirs, and within the opening minute, they're still being very cautious.
Well, it's not even their first opening pick. This is the problem. The first 2 rounds, FaZe got the opening kills, but they were unable to convert those rounds into round wins. So now, heading into the 4th round, it's going to be 3-1 in favor of opening kills for FaZe, and yet they don't have a single round on the board. Handy, his presence is certainly known over towards Garage, but the red ping and yellow ping information as well. Over towards Ambi and co. There is a double push coming in here with Rexon. Ambi losing a lot of his life. Rexon wants to get involved as well. He went prone. He lost also a lot of his life. A lot of damage done from Handy.
I think put that one in the bad decisions book, boys, and try that one again. Going into a prone peak under somebody who has the pre-existing angles, and that angle is through a truck. It's not really the easiest fight to take, but confidence is key, and that's theirs to start the break. The break is on towards the default plant spot here. We saw this played before. That'll give them just a little walk through, and then they'll sort of tuck and jiggle and try and bait the utility. They have a minute, but you're looking at 3 smoke canisters in the pocket and an echo drone. Perfectly pre-placed and lined up. There's the loop round over the top. The Tubarao is also trying to slow things down, but the C4 is the most important slow. Souls is caught. That's going to put the kit cold on the default plant location, so it's not the end of the world. But in a 4 versus 4 with Handy in a propped up position and a great grenade kill on towards Rexon, how do they try and turn this into a round win here, FaZe?
You got Yokai, you've got 1 Gas Babe, that's about it. And position and numbers with FaZe. So it's a pretty even final 30 seconds coming up. FaZe, though, with the extra player, I'd give them the benefit of the doubt.
I mean, they have the vertical, they have the watch from deep, they have the position,
that's
and
clean from Handy.
Beautifully taken on the for first. They actually just drop into the side at this point. They've realized it's a 4 versus 2. We know where they are. Let's go for the flood while they go for the plant. It is secured. Great play there from FaZe, just to sort of put the final touches on towards
Here
that
we
round.
go. Now they're going to win the next 3, and it's going to be a 4-3 lead for FaZe. I feel like I've seen this movie script before. Very lazy of the script writers to just reuse
Honestly,
the same material.
They're using it early as well. Like, they're sort of padding it up. Because last SI had the greatest stories.
Well, I mean, it's a
top.
very simplistic round to kind of look back to, because I mean, we've kind of gone over it from the replays, but earlier with Handy getting so much damage onto Rexon and Ambi, it just limits their ability to be aggressive, wanting to hold angles. They're just so low on health, it becomes a lot easier for FaZe to actually finalize and get those kills, courtesy of the damage done from Handy. But, like, what are those two thinking? I mean, I understand they want to try and contest over towards Garrett. You either have to fully commit, double swing, and take the 2-on-1, or you just don't do it at all. And in the end, they did this like little half measure, half double peak, but 1 by 1. It's like, oh, drop. Okay, I lost a lot of life. Your turn. Oh, drop. Oh, I lost a lot of life. And they just both run back like scared children. And it ends up really giving control to Handy. He does get Garage. He did a lot of damage. Like, nothing that Shopify did at that point in the round helped them out whatsoever. FaZe punishing mistakes. They're really, really good at that. 3-1. And this is where the test begins now for Shopify. 0-3, 0-4, 0-3 starts on the opening 3 maps, followed then by FaZe winning 4-5.
Ooh, that will be a rehost, I
and
presume.
1 into a rehost. Yeah, that's a drop.
Yeah, on the rules, if a player disconnects immediately into it, I'm assuming the admins are going to sort this out. If no lives have been traded, if there hasn't been an impact on the round, then you'll just potentially replay the round. You can see Super is questioning that, but that's not our job.
Super's like, what do you mean rehost?
Yeah, it's not just
but
if it happens.
If it was a player from Shopify, it'd be like rehost?
Yeah. If you are deeper into the action, if action has already kicked off, then you have to lock in. But on top of those rules, rehosting a round, you have to choose the same operators, the same site, the same setup. Well, you don't have to do the same setup, but you have to do the same operators in the same site to keep everything level. You cannot go in and entirely change things up. That'll be down to them to sort out.
It gives us a chance to kind of just, like, have a breather.
Yep.
It's been a very spicy series. 7-5 on Clubhouse to FaZe, 7-5 on Labs to Shopify Rebellion, and now it's a 3-1 lead on Bank for Shopify.
Binder of strats. I mean, it's thorough. It's well produced. Usually you'll just, like, you've seen teams that have just, like, scraps of paper and they utilize. That is like a textbook.
How many pages do you think there are? That's a lot of pages. Like, are all of those pages used, or is there like a bunch of that are just empty?
Do you think there's just some like ones that are just like pictures? just
some inspirational, motivational quotes.
Yeah,
just like you can do it.
Like, keep it up.
I think for FaZe, like, they've got that round. Okay, Handy's playing really well, so there's a lot of caveats you can take from them and say, okay, like, it's happened again, 3rd map in a row, that they've started poor, started slow, but they also know that they've got the ability to bring these games back pretty quickly and pretty comfortably. You go and get that round, you start to play a little bit better, everyone else starts to get a little bit of composure, a little bit more confidence, Handy's leading the way, they have that path forward. And they know full well that, obviously, from the side of Shopify, that they start well and then kind of slow down a little bit.
What do you think is on Cyber's monitor? So this is a thing that obviously a lot of players have sort of adopted over the past 2 years, maybe, is that they'll stick photos of people that are either important to them or just fun memes.
Or a fish or something.
Or a fish onto the back.
Yeah, I mean, it can mean anything. Should I put a picture of Guz and you put a picture of Hap on the front of the table?
No.
We do this for you.
We'll put it on the cool Metropolis style backdrop. But they're sort of. One of the teams used to have pictures of their player managers. So one of the people who runs the tournaments, every team will have someone from the staff that looks after them, make sure they have all their drinks, and he became their lucky charm for the team. It was SSG, and they were like, we need you as part of the team. It was nice support. I'm not sure who that is on Cyber's monitor, but I'm sure it's important. What do you have?
What's important right now, though, is for Shopify to understand the scenario that they've already been in front of back on club and on lab. You get this great start. Things are looking great. You're amped up. 2 kind of clutch-worthy opening rounds. They're playing good siege. And then all of a sudden, FaZe just go bang, 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 bang. And your lead has not only evaporated, but you've given up the lead in total. So it's like FaZe, slow start, then Shopify slow, and then we do that little trade game until we get to 5-5, and then someone just kind of finishes it off. So can we flip that script? If Shopify were to like win the next round, like that hasn't happened this series.
Yep.
Like that's kind of crazy to even think about.
Yeah. It's also worth noting during these tech timeouts that players cannot talk to their manager, and in fact they can't really talk to each other as well.
They don't need to talk.
They don't need to, but
they
if
can all think internally.
Yeah, but if you're sat there wondering why they just sat so still, why they just sat so stoically, there are rules about that. Canadian actually used to sing when he was on, because there wasn't any rules stopping singing, and he wouldn't like sing anything particular, but just to keep the mood up, you know, and keep everybody going, and just, it's a break in energy, it's a break in momentum. You can always question who it favors, but with 2 teams of this caliber, kind of both of them. They both get a moment to reset their mentals, refocus, and to be honest, the start of games is when Shopify Rebellion have looked at their best. So this is almost like a second start that they get themselves the ability to play into here. No yawning, Canadian. Focus in. I like this sort of split that we have here as well.
Yeah, I like the split camps, as we're, I think, moments away from getting back into Bank. 3rd and final map of this series here for Group B. Only day 1, but of course already off to a flying start when it comes to these 2 top teams. 3-1 in favor of Shopify. Been in this position before, though, through all 3 maps. They've got to find a way to make sure that FaZe do not go on that tear, go on that run that they've done so far through the opening 2 maps. And if they can do that, Emmy, well, they can probably do anything.
Do you know what's the limit? The sky.
Well, you can go through the sky.
What? Since when?
I mean, there's space.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Do people know?
Some people.
All right. Good. As long as the word's out. 3-1. Shopify Rebellion, and we're back getting ourselves in. Now the stats have obviously been reset along at the bottom as we had the rehost, but
that's okay. I have the stats here anyway.
I was gonna say, throw us in a brief bit of context as to who's sort of a bit stop out and who's stopped and is a little bit out.
So Handy 6-1, absolutely by far and away the best player on the server when it comes to Bank. But what's strange is he's not been involved in any of the entry battles. After, of course, on Nighthaven Labs, he was someone that struggled in that particular department, going 0-3. He's 0-0. Probably a reason why he's improved here on Bank versus Labs. He's not quite getting into those entry battles. On the flip side, when it comes to Shopify Rebellion, yeah, they're up 3-1 right now, but they've only got 1 player that's actually above 100 EPS, so that's Grixer, who's in 3-3. Canadian 2-2, Surf 3-3, Ambi 2-2, Rexon 2-4. So the numbers are all pretty equal when it comes to the side of Shopify. Handy leading the way for FaZe.
It's also the split there onto the KOSD, the cost, which is your kill, your objective play, if you survive the round, or if you got a trade. Now, Handy is on 100% every single round. He has had some kind of an impact on the game, but the only one who isn't, at least on 75, is Vidaking, who's on 50. Whereas on the other side, generally, the individual players of Shopify Rebellion have had less impact every single round. It's been more sort of, this is a big round for, Grixer. This is a big round for Canadian. So getting themselves that sort of flat synergy is something where we know FaZe are always just a second from striking. Talking of, here they are, prepped and ready inside. Tell us what they want is those players to potentially try and just get a rotate in, get caught out. They're droning ahead, but Cyber sitting, waiting, the Predator hoping that there's somebody to latch onto that is unaware that the Gazelles at the sort of watering hole are being watched by the Lion. Oh, now they know they're being watched by the Lion. The Lion has to leave. The Lion with the gun. It's gone.
The Lion with the gun is scared of the Gazelles?
Sometimes it happens. King of the jungle lives in a desert. Weird analogy. 3-1, a minute 20, all 10 players still standing, Zeno.
Yeah, they are. And that's probably good news for Shopify. So far on Bank, FaZe have been pretty decent into the opening kill department, 3 from 4. So that's been an element of the particular map that is going in favor of FaZe. The longer it stays at 5, the better for Shopify. Puts him in a position to get their own opening kill. Surf will collect that onto Cyber. Advantage for Shopify going into the final minute. Can they break the curse? Can they find a way to disallow FaZe the ability to go on that run that they've been able to do through the opening 2 maps, now coming into the 3rd? Starting with 1 round after the 3 from Shopify. It could be shut down immediately thereafter. 40 seconds. Handy with 1 logic bomb remaining and starts to make his push now through archives and making contact with Surf. The shotgun opens up the wall, but only makes it easier for Handy to get the kill. 4v4, final 30 seconds.
They hoped that they're able to get him pressed against the wall, but they haven't been so fortunate. So now it's a drive towards Janitor. They're not going to go for that sort of plant play because it's on the other side, but there's a dip round and a rock from Grixer. Now, holding on to the split outside the breach, it's self-caught! On the side of Spiral, just drifting up into no man's land, and KDS is taking a breather, leaving Souls with 4 players to try and cut his way through, and only 4 seconds. I don't think it's going to be done, because it's pretty much literally impossible. Now, Shopify, what have they done here? They've broken the fact that it's been big trades back and forth. Suddenly, FaZe haven't been able to, the first time, get that momentum, dig themselves into it, and turn 1 round into 2, into 3. No, it is a 4-1 FaZe locked out of that game.
Yeah, really throws a spanner now into the series, doesn't it? Especially for the side of FaZe. Shopify doing what they've not been able to do through the opening 2 maps, but get a response after their little streak came to an end. So it was a 3-0 start. Then FaZe gets 1, and Shopify then immediately get 1 thereafter. They couldn't do it on Club. They couldn't do that on Labs either. But here on Bank, they now go 4-1 up. Final round of the half now forthcoming. And again, this is why I always felt like in Montreal, they were just happy to qualify for SI. They got, obviously, a very tough FaZe team in the quarterfinals. They were happy. They were laughing. They had good energy, good vibes, but it just never felt like they were competitive inside of the server. And it's the opposite. Absolutely opposite in this series. They look competitive. They look like they want to take it up to FaZe. They actually look like they care about this game wholeheartedly, and it's clearly showing.
So,
it would also mean for FaZe, it will be 2 losses in a row at Six Invitational.
And the technical at the end of one,
yep.
The bookend of one, and the start of the next. It's not the perfect way to get yourselves in, but it's the group stage. As you said, if there's a time where you're going to lose a game,
if there is a time,
this is the best time. And, you know, we've had teams win the whole thing entirely on lower bracket runs. They're not even guaranteed to be in the lower bracket. We're on day 1 of 5. They have CAG tomorrow, Cyclops Osaka Gaming. They can set themselves in against another team that they've, you know, got all the prep on, reset, and if they win that, okay, suddenly things are balanced. Your opponents today are going to play 4 total games as well, 3 other games. There's always the chance that everything will spiral around, but here, we're talking as if the map's done. It's not. It's FaZe. They always have the ability to get themselves back in. They're a world-class team against another world-class team here at this point. They're going to see if they can try and set themselves back in it. It starts with a bleed on towards the sort of basement and lockers site, a place where they were able to put the pressure on before and find some victory. Here, Shopify, instead of rotating to the 3rd site, for the first time they've doubled down as well, gone back. The one that they've lost within that 3-point rotation.
Yeah, I don't know if Handy's been able to get the most out of these shock drones either. But Yokai is still available. Gas Babe's still available. Vulcan canisters that still need popping. Only just over a minute. There are 2 Vulcan canisters you can clearly see through the observation. Thank you, Sky. ADS sending his drone in to try and find some information going into the final minute. This is a little bit scrappy right now from FaZe. It's going to be late. They haven't really got good pressure over towards, say, Garage, so it's all going to be rather one-sided in their approach. Out of Elevator goes Surf over towards Vault. Maybe anticipating that FaZe are going to go for a bit of a different angle of attack. They do lose Canadian. That's a big power kill The smokes, the gas babes, they're off the board. With the final 40 seconds remaining, it does open things up for Shopify.
There's the spray through on towards the drop there, but they're inside the site. They've screamed their way across a 4 versus 3 and entirely taken them a bit by surprise, but back and forth still traded out. Grixer and Rexon both stuck in gold. Wants to swap to the Echo drone as the plant is being secured. Can it make it in time? It's up. Oh, it gets the threaded needle, finds the drop, and the Echo drone rotates around towards the bottom of green, but the pressure, the attention from Rexon, the second hit misses. It's a post plant. And now a 3 versus 1. The Echo trying his best to get the lock in here. Couldn't quite stop the second plant attempt and gets locked in. 4-2 is how the half is played out here. That's not the most unusual scoreline. I think my wish will come true. We might find ourselves in OT today.
We could. Poor Canadian losing his life, I think, through the main stairs. But either way, he's playing such an important operator to be able to deny the plant from going down on the smoke. You want those gas babes. He loses his life rather early when that eventual push is coming through. At one point, it's a 5v3. So the 2 kills for FaZe really setting the tempo at the end. It's an absolute free kill. Grixer, of course, not really in a position to do much from there, but well played from FaZe. They looked like a team that had the composure in the round, and it wasn't all just down to Handy to go and find these kills. Far more of an influence from other members on the roster. 2-4 might be enough. Yeah, it very well could be. FaZe go defense now, straight over to lockers and CCTV. But Bank is certainly the kind of map where you can facilitate very good attacking rounds. I think Shopify Rebellion have shown they've got the ability to win attacking rounds as well in this series. Ambi, Surf, both been great when it comes to entry engagement. So I think that they've got the firepower to still be able to get through FaZe. A lot of it's going to come down to these next 2 to 3 rounds, though, to really set the tone, set the tempo. If FaZe make this a 5-4, then yeah, maybe they go and close it out. But if Shopify can extend this lead, get to a 5-2, get to a 6-2, I think they can then close it out as well. So next few rounds, super important.
We talked about the Monty and how big it was for FaZe. First sort of map, different play space. There's a lot more space, and that makes things awkward for a player like Cyber who wants to keep himself moving, keep himself sort of agile and aggressive and digging their way in here, and sort of trade off of how it's actually also played a bit by Souls as well back then, and either way, Canadian is a man who likes to lock himself in towards that Monty role. He can just utilize the shield, call the intel, call the positions, and call a chance at a plant. And the plant game is one I'm curious about. Goodbye, Cyber. Ambi cutting his way across. The Ace playing that entry role here. They want to try and get some of the control on the hatches. The calls come out, force the players further and further back in towards open, down towards the bottom of green as well. Canadian's just propped up, eyes on towards server, and he doesn't really have to go anywhere at this point. Instead, actually, he's going to get a lot of work done. Now, I think he might be entirely alone, so he doesn't want to get himself too close to the fire, but he's done the job that needs to be done. He can just start reading this, start calling that intel. Now, the Monty is going to be great at baiting that utility. He wants to start the plant, start the sort of give and say, go on, throw your smoke canisters over, throw the C4s, move out the way, get rid of it, as that timer is still at 1:30. Because remember, that's what, 45 seconds plus a C4 worth of utility. You've got to try and cook your way through.
Yeah. No Zoto canisters either to aid into the stalling out, really just down to the 3 gas babes for Souls. Shopify wanting to be diligent, though. Canadian with the drone, getting some information for those in sight. So far, they're setting themselves up for a very successful 7th round. It all comes down to the conclusion, though, where you just can't make mistakes. Can't overpeak, overstep. Salma thrown out deep, trying to find a kill. Soul's able to stay alive and get into a position where he can send out these gas babes, looking to deny the entry for Shopify into the final 40 seconds. Red ping, information. They are doing everything they can, though, to try and deal with this smoke.
He said it was about 45 seconds, and we hit that mark as soon as the first one popped off. You can see the watch on top of the sort of hatch, but there is a shotgun. Kaid, he's positioned right on the... In fact, not Kaid, it's KDS. Same gun, different man. It's Goyo, ready for the hatch drop to come through. Gets Grixer as Grixer gets Vidaking, but it's Surf. Gets the trade out on towards it, the 2 versus 4. But they're still going to try and long arm those smokes. Canadian has to pull himself out. 15 seconds. He cannot sit and wait for that position to be cleared. They have to try and push themselves deeper in towards the side itself and through himself up towards the watch. There's the drop. There's the play on towards it. And Souls with the rotate gets one. But Now, with the attempt on the plant, the security in the cover, that is Shopify Rebellion winning their first attack, getting themselves 5-2.
I tell you what, I mean, they were in total control there, but North American fans would still have their heart and mouths because there was like 4 seconds left and Canadians still hadn't started the planting process. And who knows, with one player still alive, if you can just find an angle, get that kill, 3-4 seconds left on the clock, it could have changed the course of that round. And it would have been quite humiliating, but Shopify always in control. Canadian was always going to be able to get that plant down successfully. They go 5-2 up. We are getting a little bit of that back and forth, but because of that 3-0 lead for Shopify, they continue to maintain that 3-round advantage and start to edge closer to securing what would be an incredible series win to kick off Six Invitational 2025 with this roster, with this new organization. FaZe, the runners-up of last year, 1 round away from claiming the hammer. This would not be an ideal way to start their comeback trail.
5-2. And the pressure is always going to be ticking now. Change out here. Surf in a classic Dockerbie swap. Each big rank. You guys at home, just work that one out. The rest of the team went for an entirely different take, whether they thought it'd be a different site or not. Maybe a double down of the same. Either way, new place, new home, new approach here. The Valk has the stretch through. Cyber was obviously the Tubarao was early lost. Cross here, open. And that a little bit more extra wiggle room. This is the classic third site for most teams. Sometimes even the second, actually, for ones that hate playing on towards the top floor as it drops out of the meta favorite. Very concerned about the read onto those windows because, well, it's very likely that a player will try and throw themselves out. The claymores are set and prepped. It's otherwise a big open space. You have to sit uncomfortably hanging and dangling, almost waiting to be plucked and thrown into the afterlife by a player that feels the need to throw themselves out of a second-story window. FaZe just going to sit and wait, see if they can try and get a handle on the first engagement as the Kanto wall starts to be a point of a bit of pressure. Without the Habana, it's a bit more awkward to open up if it is locked in. In fact, there's not really any hard breach on the side here.
Hey, they bend it.
Yeah, it's just the ace, just the Selmas. You can try and long arm one from the far side, but I guess with open, if you're looking at quad wall, you sort of need it. Sometimes you'll have Thermite instead, but it's the pressure on towards the window seems to be the first approach. Look at Canadian, the blitz. Can't quite get himself around the corner. The cover is there from Ambi. They're ready to start making their way inside. There's the very shaky fight and a team kill. Oh no, a misinput. Souls!
Well, Vitaking's down, so it's not as bad as it may seem immediately. 2v3 depends on if Vitaking can get back up. No, of course not. Finished off by Surf. Yeah, a little bit unfortunate, but Ambi still got the initial kill to begin with. It's unfortunate he took down Canadian, but they still got the other kill anyway. It's more so the fact that they lost Rexon elsewhere at the same time. If they didn't lose Rexon, it could be a 3v3 right now, and, well, we wouldn't really be worried about the team kill, but yeah, Kit recovered. Poor old Canadian, 60 seconds left, got shot in the back of the head. It does happen to Shield players every now and then. Still a winnable round for Shopify, but this is the kind of round that FaZe should and really likely will collect because of that small error, that small mistake from Ambi, who's been playing so well in this series and has every chance to probably be the MVP of the series overall between both of the two teams. But with 35 seconds left, so much to do for Surf and Grixer. Could they pull off a very heroic round?
Wow, it's even more of a meteoric challenge at this point. He knows their inside tellers, but the tale being told is that we're moving on to the next. Back and forth, past 5 rounds. They've been back and forth. They've been trying to find themselves new location, and if that continues, I mean, we're still going to get ourselves on towards map point. We're still going to get ourselves potentially onto the end of this map. It was a little bit of a lockdown after something else pulled away. FaZe, they're still battling, and as I said, you can't ever truly count out a team like FaZe. Here's that moment, the swing round, and yeah, it happens.
I mean, look, he got a kill before it.
Yep.
And yeah, it does happen, but FaZe is the kind of team that will punish those little mistakes. 3-5. And they just keep their heads above water. That's the main thing for FaZe. Their heads are above water. But they've just never been able to claw back the deficit on this map. They've done it on the opening 2 maps of Clubhouse and Labs. But it's either been a 3 or a 2 round differential the whole way through here on Bank. So now it's up to Shopify to continue that trend that has been established separately here on the final map of this series. Been a long day on the B stream. We are incredibly far behind the A stream. I think soon enough, this will be the A stream at some point.
Yeah, we just do take over at some point. Well, Shopify, can you keep this game of table tennis back and forth, bouncing across, or will FaZe again sort of reassert themselves 2 in a row? Ambi was tempted to burst his way through there onto the top square, but couldn't do better of it. He has been able to get his tooth and nail in, and you look at the spread of things, it is kind of Ambi versus Cyber currently in the split. Obviously, there are some numbers that came in before the rehearsal.
Yeah, I mean, Handy was great beforehand.
Yeah.
If you want, in terms of the actual numbers right now as they are, 8 and 5 for Handy, 7 and 5 for Cyber. So those two very much similar. 7 and 4 for Ambi. The only player on the side of Shopify, this is again crazy. They're up 5-3. He's the only one with 100 plus EPS at 123, and he finds another opening kill. I mean, team kill aside, he's been pretty much flawless. That one incident in the previous round, the only tiny blip for what's otherwise been an incredible series from the young star. And another chance for Shopify, but Recton shut down at the hands of Souls. And it brings it back to an even man number game at 4 versus 4 with 90 seconds left in the 9th round. It's starting to get hot and heavy. Grex is going to fall to KDS, and just like that, FaZe have found themselves with the slight advantage.
Will it be pushed on towards the end? There's still a lot of time here for Shopify to try and work with and try and get things just, you know, formulated into a plan. The kit is on the windows alongside some of the cover from the Capitao. In terms of the bolts in their pocket, they still have 2 smokes, but you're throwing yourselves into potentially a C4, potentially just impacts to get the end of it. The keeper barricades can try and build their way back in, and there's the first pop of smokes, and Ambi's going to use that as his way to thread himself through the head. Looks for the second, can't find it on the long desk, but they're inside the building, inside the site, and tucking themselves close here. Caught out, but it's Surf
Canadian,
that has the cover in handy. You're not really sure what's going on. Surf has to swing himself in. They were trying to go for a bit of a bait and a play, but through it all, it was red. FaZe 2 rounds now in a row, the first time on this map.
Wow, I mean, that is just a strange round. I thought Ambi was almost single-handedly clawing a winning position for Shopify throughout. Canadian with the kit gets into sight, then just starts running around. The smoke's, of course, dissipating, so he knew he couldn't just stick it. Throws out the Candelas. They don't quite pop off in time. And in the end, just dies for nothing. He just essentially just ran around in a circle and then died. 4-5 now, timeout by FaZe. Despite winning the last 2 rounds, Emmy, they want to try and compound their advantage going into a timeout. And this is where it starts to get really nerve-wracking for both of these 2 teams. Once again, as has been in this series, we're staring down the barrel of a 5-5 scenario, and then who can just finish off better?
Yeah, and that's that sort of game that you wanted, right? We said it could be series of the day. You have 2 great teams going up against each other.
It's definitely going to be now.
Where else can we go from here but up? It's just piecing itself together. They are still so close here, Shopify. This moment, you know, if that engagement...
If Ambi gets that kill, I think they win the round.
And that's it, because he went for the close fight onto Janitors. I don't know if it was the person deep on long desk that got the kill or not, but there was a second person ready for the fight. Canadian, with the Ying shotgun, I think it was. Throwing themselves that deep and then trying to cook another Candela just to get the instant blind on the pocket. If he'd have just rolled it and potentially started doing a plant there.
In the end, it was like hesitation leads to nothing, leads to death.
Yeah, and it, you know, but again, it's the thing that you always sort of look at here is it's so easy for us to look here and see all the pieces moving around. There, you don't know what they're working with. You don't know what is in their ear. You don't really know what the sort of play around is, and it's just something that pulls away. Vidaking on towards the Clash. We saw some of the Clash play in the previous map as well. They've played Clash in some of the biggest games out of it for the side of FaZe, just slowing down an approach. Think about how this played before. Shopify Rebellion got a really good, really quick bit of control on towards server, on towards the eyes on the site, and on towards the rest of it. And from then on, you know, how do you bite your way across? The Clash, the chance at the roam, and the blitz actually as well from Canadian. We're going to have a little bit more aggression around the map, I think.
Well, I wouldn't say the pressure's like too much right now. It's group stage day 1. If we want to kind of reel things back, it's been an incredibly fun series, and seeing 2 top teams from their respective regions going, you know, toe to toe has been quite exhilarating, and it's really kind of set the tone nice and early for Six Invitational. That there's just so much quality at this level at the moment. But the reality is, it's day 1 of group stage. So we probably don't want to, you know, go too nuts about it. But it has been a really, really fun series. But for Shopify, I feel like there's more on the line here to get a result against a team that embarrassed you in Montreal. Again, especially in this kind of proverbial group of death, to get the extra points. It's really going to help them, I think, a lot more than a FaZe clan, who we know we're probably going to get a better version of them at some point.
What is Handy going to try and sit and wait around for? You can see that there's calls on the approach of the players. The hatch next to him is open. He just wants to try and get one to the lucky take and then fade himself down below. Rexon might be the first to find the engagement, but they're not entirely popping their way in. The drop on the cameras, the play around the corner. Has he been tested or contested? Well, that's down to the confidence, the cojones of Handy here, who's, you know, one of those players who does like to take these engagements. There's the ping. There's the shield that just sees the player drop away. You can win a lot of 1v1s. There's sneaky engagements. You probably can't win that one. The removal of the mines, the steady play around, the change of the control on towards Vault Hatch, and the Clash doing this. Exactly what I talked about before,
no.
But oh no! I don't really know if there's the reference
dead.
to...
I mean, your Clash is down.
It's just the C4, the second take, the second time a shield has been taken by their own team and their own players. At this point, the 4 versus 5 towards. The fight is now actually a 4 versus 4 based on how that connects. The confusion potentially.
Well, there's only
on the
one
back
shield
of it.
up now, and that's on the side of Canadian and Shopify. With no Clash, this becomes a far more winnable round for Shopify going into the final 30 seconds. Yes, it's 4v4, but the Clash is a big part of the round for FaZe, and they no longer have it. There's the push through from Rexon towards Garage. They do lose Surf to Handy. Big kill. And suddenly the advantage back over to FaZe.
It's late, 15 seconds, and they're just trying to get some modicum of control here over the side. A lot of damage onto KDS, and Canadian pops one, but KDS and Cyber drive themselves right back in it. It's just Canadian in the middle of no man's land. FaZe, they tie us right back up. And at this point, you're staring at that OT, and now you're wondering, can Shopify Rebellion find that final piece, that missing link?
Wow. 5-5 in all 3 maps, Emmy. I mean, there hasn't been really much separating these 2 teams. And there's not really going to be much to separate them to close this series out. It honestly comes down to these little micro mistakes. But even in that round, like we saw the proverbial double kill with the Nitrocell, 1 opponent, 1 teammate. Even with that and losing the Clash, FaZe still just find a way to win that round. That's a round that Shopify probably should have done a little bit better on because of the Clash being dealt with by FaZe.
It just felt like Shopify changed the plan late into the game. What happened in server happened, and then suddenly they've got a man trying to, you know, as quickly as they can get in towards Garage. They find a fight. You've got the pressure coming onto the drop on the hatch in Elevator. You've then got the shield fighting their way down from that area as well, and it becomes a little bit disjointed and trying to, you know, sort of piece things together amongst the chaos. And because of that, if you compare it to what happened when there was a team kill on the side of Shopify, when they were being very direct towards that position and direct towards that control, you know, FaZe didn't really have to change anything. You're the defenders. You've been gifted a moment. When you're the attackers, sure, you're gifted this body, but you still have to try and piece things together. And sometimes, when you haven't got a lot of time to do it, you have to come up with plans. Cyber on the boss.
Journey to Archives. They might not be aware of this. This is very, very quick. I mean, this is something that Shopify might not be aware of. If they push through Electrical or top blue stairs, trying to get a push in towards Staff and open area. He's playing on the Vigil. Look at that hole that's been opened up towards Electrical. Okay, shot with the Boss G. That might give away his position. Of course, the Monty on the other side of it. But if someone pushes in trying to come in behind the Montang and they're not aware that it's being watched by Cyber, that could have been a very easy kill. You've also got blue stairs as well if they try and make their way up and he's watching it. There's the shot, there's the chance, it's a miss. That was an opportunity for Cyber and for FaZe to get on the board nice and early. Handy does so anyway, dealing with Brexton, who has struggled since Rehos, and it's a Cyber that goes wandering, losing his life in the vigil shutdown. 4 versus 4.
Didn't quite know about the player above. The blinds come out, and now they think they've got control of square. But look at this, the slow, steady rotate underneath the fight on towards the door. They don't know, but they still win it out. Great motion there from Surf. You could see he wasn't quite sure on the direct location of the player. Now, with the man advantage in a minute 20, they still have to try and find their way into the site. They are blinded out, and there's Ambi shooting a blinder across the back end. Another Candela. Don't need to cook it. It's rolling to where it needs to be, opening up a little sight line on towards the rotate.
What is that? That's a pixel. Ambi should be asking for a refund. Surely they don't lose the round off of a shot like that. And Surf's going to get brought back up, though, at the very least, to make it still a player advantage for Shopify. And they've got 50 seconds, but Ambi would be ropeable to lose his life in that manner. What can Souls and KDS do? It's another one from KDS. Now down to a 2v2. Old head Canadian on the Montang has clutched up a couple of times in this series. Will need to do so once again.
Currently a 2 versus 1 as the man's going for the plant, but they're not going to put the pressure on. Instead, they use the time to rotate, and there's the reveal of the position and the player. But look at the aggression right up towards the Monty. Now it's
down
a 2
Canadian.
versus 1. Canadian. He knows he's in a tight spot, but he can't make it happen. Souls and KDS.
How have they lost that round?
How have they won that round? Massive play from the start of a pixel that I don't even think exists in the game. Towards where we are now, 6-5. FaZe.
Oh.
They stand 1 round away from locking it out, and you can see it on the faces of Shopify and the mic being down.
This is so North American, isn't it? To just get so close and then ultimately capitulate. 4 rounds won in a row now for FaZe after Shopify. We're looking to have complete control of this map, of this series. FaZe have brought it all the way back, baby. And now it's a timeout for Shopify. At 6-5, it's now match and series point for FaZe Clan. And it seemed like in the middle of that round that Shopify were the team of the 2 that was starting to gain the ascendancy. Ambi was doing his thing. And then out of nowhere, bam, pixel shot, headshot. And then even with the plant going down successfully, they lose Surf at the end. Canadian in a 1v2 on the Montang. What can you really do at that point?
I mean, this is why we talk about, and I said it when it was 5-2, you cannot ride out either of these teams. It's been the back and forth. Sure, it was.
Look at it. At this point, 2v4, pop.
You don't even see him.
You don't even see him. The bullet is like curving Matrix style to come around the corner of the window.
It's like Wanted. Angelina Jolie.
And the biggest thing, it's on Ambi. He has been so good for Shopify Rebellion. If he is not the one to lose his life there, I think he can then still clutch the round. Match and series point FaZe, though. This series has not gone to an overtime yet. 7-5, 7-5. Will it be 7-5 again?
If I was on the wrong end of that shot in, like, rank in the game,
I would just say it's cheating.
I'd be on the phone to John Ubisoft. I'd be like, John Ubisoft, you got to sort this out. You got to get rid of this guy.
Well, I mean, right now the pressure probably is on Shopify. You can certainly alleviate a lot of it in some of the earlier maps because of the fact that FaZe are FaZe, but you've been now up 5-2. You've now been in a winning position for such a long time here on this map that now it's like, well, boy, we're really going to fumble the bag, aren't we? Dark Zero losing earlier to Razar. If SR lose to FaZe in this manner, not a particularly amazing day for North America, but you can take a lot of the positives, certainly for Shopify, but they don't care about your positives. They want the win.
Yep, they want to try and get it locked in. They want to start themselves off with a bang here. And I love this forest trick. You jump it up, run it onto the side, and spin around towards the windows behind you, and then you make the landing. Perfect. Gets rid of any utility on the back end of it without it being caught out. There's the castle. There's a trick. Now go and practice it a million times, and you'll probably get it in the last 10 6-5 at this point. FaZe, they just need a first kill from then on. Probably setting themselves up towards the end of it. As you said, Ambi has been that difference maker, that distance queen. He's struggling. Rexon on the other side. Ian, this is a moment for them to start picking up. I talked about it at the very beginning. What we had was big sort of hero rounds almost from Shopify when they were getting themselves in. The cost wasn't so spread. Here is almost the bad end of that, the demonstration.
Oh, that was quick. I mean, how much of the win call now for Shopify is going to come through? Again, Canadian on the Ulsa, get the plant down behind the Talon shield. They go for square control. Do they just go for the repel control? I mean, Canadian's kind of in a position where I think they're going to want to just try and go for a pretty default top square take, open up the right side, go for that shield down, and then play the repel close plant position. Minute 10, time beginning to be a factor, guys. Need to get that wriggle on, clear out sight, clear out positions like Janitor. There's the smoke to try and stop the ability. Oh, little decent drone over towards lobby here.
The awareness, they don't quite find their way around the Candela as it's been put onto the sort of pressure of Surf rather than Canadian at this point. They're going to try and drive the Os.
Canadian has to go in now. Like, this is it. This is the go time, and he finds himself over towards the bomb chassis. Into CO! Oh, he's shot in the back by Cyber! No. And with that, FaZe have taken away the win condition for Shopify Rebellion. It feels like Ambi's got a lot to do, pushing through Janitor. This young star with a chance to shine at the Six Invitational. Surf alongside him like Robin to his own Batman. Into the flames he goes, but up in flames may go Shopify. If he can't close it out on the diffuser, he goes to stick it. Vinicking with 2, then 3, and just like that, it's all down to Ambi. In a 1 versus 4, shut down by Souls. FaZe will take down Shopify Rebellion.
The difference was a single step. When Ossa is deploying like that, her elbows are out so wide. And that slug shotgun, the TCSG, is an absolute surgeon's tool. That got rid of Canadian. If he was a step further back, it could be different. But we don't talk about ifs, we don't talk about buts, we don't talk about what could happen. What has happened is FaZe, a meteoric return, a meteoric play back in, and they are able to take a win. But by God, did they have to fight for it?
Oh, let me breathe. Dissect and have a look at things. This is the kind of game, though, I'd love if it was on, like, say, Stream A and we had an analyst desk and they could all break it down, because this is certainly the fitting of it. I feel awful for Shopify, but they probably won't walk away from this too upset. I think that's definitely got to be their mentality. They played some great Siege. They deserved the map that they got. Unfortunately, they don't get the series win, but they did enough, Emmy.
Well, we're throwing to a quick break before we're back with a breakdown of that absolute blinder of a series.